almost like molasses pouring from here to here.
Yes, ma'am.
Nothing is her fault.
True.
If you took the keys and you put them in your pocketbook and you put your pocketbook under your pillow where you slept, nobody would have gotten their hands on the car keys.
You put your keys under your pillow when you sleep.
I put my valuables away when I'm in a hotel, when I'm in somebody else's house. I don't take off my rings and say, nobody else should touch that. I don't want anybody else to touch that. And I don't take out my wallet and leave it on a counter in a hotel and say, nobody else better touch that. I put my things away. Maybe the reason why you had to go to Miss Richards in the first place in order to rent this car is because you are so irresponsible that a credit card company wouldn't give you a credit card. Because even my 8-year-old grandchild is offered a credit card.
I don't want a credit card. That's why I don't have a credit card.
Listen, no, you don't have a credit card because you probably overextended your limit when you were 18 and 19 and 20. Don't tell me you never had a credit card because you don't want one.
I never had a credit card. I have cash.
So I assume that you have enough cash to take care of all of your bills. Can I see the estimate of the damage, please, from the credit card company? And Ms. Highsmith, if you believe that someone else is more responsible than you are to pay for this, sue them. Do you understand? Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $3,889.49. And if you think that the person who took these car keys from where you left them on the counter should pay this bill, that's what courts are for. That's all.
Then on the calendar in the matter of Height versus Schuler. Vice Ms. Warning Judge, you may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
Ms. Height, it is your claim that the defendant assaulted you in a restaurant.
Correct.
You are suing her for damages, not so much for the injury that you sustained, because she, according to you, hit you in the face, but for the emotional distress that you suffered. You didn't have any medical bills, did you?
A few.
Ms. Schuler said that she did, in fact, strike you, but that is only after you lunged at her. So tell me when this happened and what precipitated this altercation.
On December 27th last year, my husband's relatives were in from out of town, and we went out to eat some Mexican food. We were sitting in a crowded lobby. I had a party of 12, 7 children and 5 adults. And I was sitting talking to my husband's aunt, and this woman walked in and plopped herself down on the bench next to us and proceeded to lift up her sweater and put this child at her breast. And I sat there for a minute and trying to talk to my husband's aunt, and I eventually said, you know, I really don't think this is the proper place to be doing that in a crowded restaurant lobby. And she said, mind your own business, and I'll do whatever I want, and if you don't like it, don't look. So I looked at my husband's aunt, and we opened our eyes kind of wide at one another. And I said, well, at least you could take this to the restroom. And she said, I'm not going in that restroom. It's filthy.
So you kept on going back and forth after she cursed at you? Are you telling me you said something else to her?
Well, I did. I said, you know, at least you could go and excuse yourself to the restroom. And she says, I'm not going in that restroom. It's filthy in there. That shows what kind of a mother you'd be. And I said, lady, I gave birth to 4 children, all of which I breastfed. But when I did it in a discreet manner and never in a public forum like this. And at that time, the hostess came up and told us our table was ready. And I got up, and I had forgotten to pick my bag up off the floor. And when I turned around to pick up my bag, she came up out of her chair and hit me across the side of the face.
Did you sit down and have dinner?
No, we didn't.
You left?
Correct.
Where did you go?
Outside. My husband had asked the manager to call the police, and he said, if you want to call the police, take your business outside. So we did.
And did you call the police?
Yes.
You have a police report?
Yes.
I'd like to see it, please. What kind of medical attention did you require?
The next morning on Sunday, I went and saw my primary physician, and he checked out my face, and the next day I went and had an x-ray of my jaw.
And it was okay?
It's okay. I was in a lot of pain for about 2 weeks, and my jaw, after she hit me, my jaw, it didn't sit right on my face, and I'm telling my husband, this woman just hit me, and I was holding this side of my face because it hurt more over here for some reason. My doctor told me it was a whiplash effect. And she looked up at me from her bench and said, "What the hell are you holding that side of your face for? I hit you on the other side."
All right, Miss Shula, let me hear your version of the events.
Okay.
How old is your baby?
My baby at the time had just turned a year old. She was probably approaching 14 months. And I had my 3-year-old son as well.
Okay. Tell me what happened at the Mexican restaurant on the 27th.
It's ironic, we had a choice of like 6 places. We chose this place. We went in and the lobby was just packed. I went up to the hostess and I said, "How long of a wait do you think it is?" And she said, 5 minutes. I said, "Oh, that's great, because my kids aren't going to be able to wait very long." And I turned around to tell my husband, and as she said,
Which is the husband?
My husband is, and as she told me that, the plaintiff's husband was sitting where I eventually sat, and he said, "You've sat 40 people since we've been here." And I thought he was yelling at me, so I just kind of noticed that he said that, and just made a mental note. Told my husband, "It's only going to be 5 minutes. We can do this." And the plaintiff's husband had stood up and demanded to see the manager because he felt they were waiting too long. And he left his seat, so I sat down in his seat. And I started to breastfeed Aubrey because she started to kind of squawk, and we don't like our kids to cause disturbance in public, so started to nurse her very carefully. However, when I started...
Tell me what you mean very carefully.
I always am very careful not to be real obvious. I had on a thick, heavy cotton beige sweater, and I get my bra down so that it's ready, and then I get her right up to me, and then I make sure the sweater was kind of nuzzled around her face. And I'll tell you how discreet it was in a second, but when I began breastfeeding her, they were talking to the manager, and he told them, he said, "Yes, we had to clean the tables." And the plaintiff says to him, and I'm sitting here, I don't have anything to do, so I'm obviously listening. And she says, "Well, what did you have to do? Take them out back and refinish them?" And I just thought, oh, these people are really mad, because that was the second comment I heard. So the man sitting next to me, eventually I found out was in her party. But my daughter was kind of flicking her leg like this, and it kind of got his attention. So he leaned way over into my space and said, "Hi, honey, what's your name?" And she kind of waved at him, but never came off the breast. I had my sweater around. He went back to his seat. I didn't want to embarrass him and say, "Excuse me, sir, but I'm breastfeeding," I didn't want to I just wanted it just to go. Then she says, "Well, sure, just whip it out," in front of the whole lobby. And she didn't see me whip anything out because I had been breastfeeding for some time. And the poor man says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't even know she was nursing."
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
When she raised her sweater, she exposed her breast.
She got so close, she was this close, and I slapped her while I was sitting and breastfeeding my daughter. I didn't know what. I was afraid.
Sticks and stones, but you can't use
But I didn't
physical
even
force.
have sticks and stones.
Schuler hit her in the face. Sylvia says Patricia was harassing her because she was breastfeeding her baby in a restaurant.
Go ahead.
So she says another few comments like, "You should go to the bathroom." And I finally said, "Excuse me, ma'am, but you are extremely rude." Because I'd seen her being rude to everyone, and now she was being rude to me. And I did have a dialogue with her. I'm sorry, I don't use words like "okay," or I don't talk like that. That's not in my vocabulary. I'm not saying I've never cursed, but I don't curse to people I don't know, most definitely. And she said I should go to the bathroom, and I said, "Where would you like me to sit in the bathroom? On the toilet? I can't nurse my child on the toilet." And I said, "There's really nowhere to nurse." I said, "I guess you don't believe in nursing." And she said, "I nursed 5 children, but I was much more discreet." And I asked her, I said, "Well, what can you see?" And she just rolled her eyes. She couldn't see anything. So my husband says to her husband, "I'm sorry if my wife's breastfeeding is offending you, but she does have the right to feed my daughter wherever she would like." I'm not sure of all their dialogue because they were over there. She kept at me, and so my husband turned and said to her, he said, "Excuse me, ma'am, but if it offends you, look away." And that's when her husband reeled around and said, you don't talk to my wife that way, and I'm going to kick your effing ass. And then that went on, and I'm just kind of watching going, oh no. And I'm getting very worried, what's going to happen?
It was getting out of hand.
It was, and so the manager...
Who's the manager?
This is the manager of the restaurant.
Come up here. Tell me your name.
Peter Holder.
Did you observe this incident?
Parts of it.
Did you observe when Miss Schuler hit Mrs. Height?
No.
If you didn't observe this assault, why are you here?
To help shed some light on the disposition and the nature of the plaintiffs and how aggressive they were.
I'd like to hear that. Go ahead.
Rarely do we have I encountered somebody as hostile and aggressive as this.
Who?
The plaintiffs. They when they came in, we told them it would be about 20 minutes, and for a table, it takes you have to put a certain number of tables together for 12 people.
Did they have a reservation?
No.
Okay. So you told them it would be about 20 minutes.
Yes. And 10 minutes later, the hostess came and got me. I was back in the kitchen, and said, this man would like to see the manager. He's very upset. So I went out and, how can I help you? And he says, you're seating all these people ahead of us. We've been here way past 20 minutes. It had been 10 minutes. And I said, well, a lot of our tables only hold 2 and 4 people, and that's who we're seating. We have a place all picked out for you. We're waiting for one more party to leave. And that's when Patricia, I believe her name is, said...
Mrs. Height.
Mrs. Height said, what do you have to do, take them out and revarnish them? And I went, whoa. And right after the incident, the plaintiff's husband threatened using that language him again, and that's when I asked him to leave.
What did you hear?
I should kick you.
So they were angry?
Very.
Okay, have a seat. All right, Miss Schuler, tell me what happened after Mr. and Mrs. Height's name was called and indicated that their table was ready.
I believe what got her so angry was that her friend sitting next to me was apologizing profusely, saying, and I didn't realize he was with them until this. And he said, I'm so sorry, and I don't know what's going on with them, and I don't know why they're acting like this. And I said, do you know those people? And he was saying yes, and then their table got called. So he was apologizing to me. I was talking to him. The plaintiff and the aunt stood up. The aunt passed. The plaintiff came over to us and said to him, stand up. You don't need to apologize to her. And as he passed me, she lunged at me and said, he didn't come here to see the likes of you. And she got so close. She was this close, and I slapped her while I was sitting and breastfeeding my daughter, still breastfeeding, and I slapped her because she came so close. I didn't know what. I was afraid.
Well, you know that you can't do that.
I really didn't. I swear to God. I will swear to God I did not know I couldn't defend myself.
Well, I don't think there's a question of defending yourself.
Well,
but, you know, you can't use sticks and stones, but you can't use
But I didn't
physical
even
force.
have sticks and stones.
Miss Schuler, you know exactly what I'm saying to you, madam. Don't be a passive-aggressive with me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Patricia Height says fellow restaurant patron Sylvia Schuler hit her in the face.
I mean, if you saw a man sitting there and scratching himself because he had an itch, would you have the gall to say to him, can't you do that someplace else? Can't you go into the bathroom? Why don't you go do that in the car? You wouldn't say that to him.
Well,
you wouldn't say that to him. What you would do is you would take your children, if you believed it was offensive, and you would go outside. You would say, I can't believe that guy can't be more discreet about scratching himself.
Well, when she raised her sweater, she exposed her breast, and that's what I had a problem with in a public place.
And I want to tell you something. I don't necessarily believe that that's true. I believe that that's a convenient thing for you to say now, and I don't believe that she cursed at you, Miss Height. I do not believe that you said to her very sweetly, could you please do that, or don't you think you could do that someplace a little more discreetly? And she turned around and called you the names that you attribute to her a moment ago. I don't believe that that happened.
Can I let my husband testify?
Oh, you can, but I won't believe him either. I don't believe she said that to you.
She did.
No, I don't believe she said that to you. I believe that she kept going back and forth because it would make sense if she said, this is what I'm going to do, and then you came back to her and said to her, can't you just go to the restroom? Because if somebody came back and cursed at me like that, I would say if I were a normal person, gee, this person's a little bit off, I'm not going to have anything else to do with her. But you didn't do that. you came right back and you said to her, according to you, after she cursed at you in a vile way, you said to her, calmly, you could at least go into the restroom. That's not what I'm hearing from the manager of the restaurant. That was your demeanor on that day.
He didn't.
Now, that doesn't mean, madam, that you have the right to put your hands on her. You don't. She has absolutely no right to tell you that she can't breastfeed a child, which is a perfectly natural thing. Some people prefer to do it privately. They feel as if for everybody's sake, including the child's sake, the child was 14 months old, perhaps we can do this privately. I can go out into the car, I can go into a private corner, I don't have to be in the middle of a lobby with 50 people around me and breastfeeding my child. But that's your prerogative. You know, you say it's a natural occurrence, it is a natural occurrence, and you can do it. There are lots of things that are natural that you don't necessarily do, you know, in the middle of Times Square. However, you understand what I'm saying to you?
I do.
I'm not being judgmental. I'm not being at the risk of offending the La Leches. I did not breastfeed my children. They grew up just fine. My generation didn't do that. But all my children and their children have all been breastfed. And they whip it out just around any way they want.
I'm just trying to get over.
Well, you're just trying.
I'm just trying to get over. I'm not being judgmental.
Well, it's not your prerogative to tell her what to do. And I don't believe that you are hurt either. I believe she slapped you and your pride was hurt. But you can't hurt her. Now, I'm going to get to your counterclaim, because I think that your counterclaim is also a little bit of nonsense, but I'm prepared to hear it.
Okay.
It's for emotional distress.
Well, I have expenses. That's all I'm asking for.
What expenses?
I had a lot of consultation with an attorney because I was supposed to be arraigned on March 5th.
Yes.
I was arrested.
She made a citizen's arrest because you assaulted her.
Exactly. So
And?
I was very concerned. I was a nervous wreck. I've never had any legal problems in my life.
Should have kept your hands to yourself.
May I ask you a question? Because I'm very interested in the answer to this question.
Sure.
How close can someone get to you aggressively? How close can an aggressor get before you have the right to protect yourself?
Where was your husband when all this was going on?
Watching my 3-year-old, who is very active.
Is what you're telling me that you were fighting back and forth with this lady and things had gotten so aggressive that she was cursing you, she was screaming at you, your husband got involved, you got involved with your husband, and yet your husband left you to go watch your 3-year-old? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah?
Yeah. You put your hands on her. She has the right to make a citizen's arrest. So if that's the expense that you want because you consulted with an attorney, I'm going to deny that application.
Okay.
And I think that she had no right to put her hands on you, and you have to be compensated for that. But you have to be compensated commensurate with the damage. If you had it to do all over again, would you have moved your seat?
Well, she had only sat down like 5 minutes before. And I
Would
was.
you have moved your seat instead of starting in with her?
No, I probably wouldn't have.
Well, then you've got a problem. You're not supposed to look for confrontation. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to try to avoid confrontation if you can. You know, life is short. You're out having a good time, you're out having dinner, you're waiting for a table. There are 12 of you. According to you, 7 children and 4 adults. You're out to have a good time. Why would you want to start anything that's going to put a damper on that good time?
I didn't think that it would. I didn't think that just kindly asking someone to take that into another part of the restaurant or outside would have caused so much her to become so angry.
Well, just a second. But she responded to you, and she said it's none of your business. Right? Let's say I agree. Let's say that that's what she said to you. It's none of your business. Let's say she used all the expletives. Then why did you continue the conversation with her?
Well, I was sitting with my my husband's 70-year-old aunt and uncle.
Your 70-year-old aunt and uncle didn't complain. You did. All right, I think you're entitled to be compensated. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $10. That's all.
Case number 123 on the calendar, the matter of Mance versus Leaf. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have a seat, please.
How old are you, Miss Mance?
I'm 19.
How old were you when you met the defendant?
I was 17.
You were in high school?
Yes, I was a senior in high school.
And what was he?
He was the assistant swim coach on my high school swim team.
When did you start to date him romantically?
We started dating maybe 3 days after the season ended. That was in February of 2002.
You were 17?
Yes.
How old are you?
24 at the time.
Married or single?
Single.
Had been married?
No.
Any children?
No.
According to your complaint, he had some trouble making ends meet. And over the course of your relationship, you loaned him money.
Yes.
Substantial amount of money.
Yes.
Mr. Leith says that, well, he did have some hard times there financially. The money that you gave him was just that gift. You agreed to help him out. And because he's a good guy, he gave you back $2,400. And he says, according to him, let me quote his answer, he said, I didn't want to seem as if I was a charity case, so I paid her a total of $2,400 to make her feel better, and I can prove it. That's what you said here.
Yes.
A lie.
Prove. Shh. I'm going to cut to the chase right now.
Okay.
Miss Mance, you have a whole laundry list of money that you lent him over the years. Is that right?
Yes.
You say he gave you back $1,000, but he still owes you about $3,000.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you this. If he can prove to me what he says in his answer, that he paid you back $2,400, if he can prove to me, listen to my question, if he can prove to me that he paid you back $2,400, are you prepared to say, that's fine,
No.
oh, that's too bad. Prove to me that you paid it back $2,400.
I don't have any evidence of any kind.
Well, if you don't have any evidence, you see where I'm going?
See where you're going.
See where I'm going?
The only evidence that we have is a title of a car that was signed over from my name to her name, which is a car that I purchased for her.
For $200.
And
Shh, shh, shh.
I purchased the car for $400 from a friend. We signed $200 on the title because it made tax reasons easier. When I put $600 worth of work into it, which her father actually helped me do the work in a friend of his shop, and we had $600 in total parts, including seat covers, wheel covers, and things that I needed to get the engine running properly again, which the car was destroyed a week or so after she started driving it because something that wasn't fixed properly ended up blowing up inside and destroyed the motor. I also gave her $1,400 in cash in total payments, and that was
Show me from the bank from which you drew out.
I paid everything in cash.
Listen to my mouth. Are you a bookie?
No.
You have a job?
Yes.
You have a checking account?
No.
You put money in a bank or under the mattress?
Under the mattress.
You put it under the mattress. You slip, but I don't believe you. Do you understand?
Yes.
Nobody does that. You put money in a bank, especially $1,400. You would have some evidence that you withdrew $1,400 from a bank. Not necessarily a check. Not everybody has a checking account. But most people who are college educated have a checking account.
Your Honor,
Just-
at one point he did have a checking
Just a
account.
second. Do I look like I need help from you yet?
No.
Who is this?
This is one of my friends. His name is Chip. He's a witness that 2 of the times I did pay her cash, they were $200 each time, so he's a witness to $400 of the money that was paid back.
Good. Perfect. I don't even have to hear him. She says that you paid her back $1,000. You could have had 2 more chips. $2,400, sir. Get there. So far, let us assume that I believe you, which I do not, that we have $400 from Chipper over here. And you have $600 in parts for a car.
Which my father paid
Shut
for.
Just a second. $2,400, sir. Get there.
I already told you, man. $1,000 in total for the car, and then $1,400 in cash payments made to her.
When?
During the course, it was probably over a course of a year, because she loaned me money when I first got diagnosed with a disease, Crohn's disease. I was out of work for a while, and then when I got back to work, I took a dive off the ladder and had a fractured spine at one point.
You're an accident looking to happen.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't you have family?
No. Well, family, yes. It's my father and my mother and everybody, but...
Well, father and mother usually comprise family. Right, Chip?
I agree, ma'am.
That's where you go if you have the propensity to fall off ladders. You go to your parents. You don't go to your 17-year-old girlfriend.
Well, she was 18 at that time.
Oh, my goodness. Eligible for Social Security, and you were 25. Father?
Ma'am.
Happy with him?
Not really.
Oh, I can tell.
My ex-wife is even less happy, and I had to keep him out of jail. She wanted to put him there.
He was forbidden from entering my mother's house where I was living at the time.
When you were how old?
17.
17, 18.
Is there any particular reason why he was forbidden from entering your house?
I wasn't forbidden from her father's house.
No. I understand that.
My mother was very upset because he was so much older than me, and she found out that I had been giving him money, which upset her even more. And
Where'd you get the money from?
I worked. I have a copy of my W-2 here. I worked full-time during the summertime, and I took a semester off school, and I worked.
She made very good money that year. Unfortunately, she doesn't have it.
Yes.
And I get very few phone calls, if I may interrupt, from my ex-wife. One of them was about this situation after she had heard about it, because it was in the closet for some time. And the words that came out of her mouth were statutory. And that's what she wanted to pursue, and I talked her out of that.
That's hard to do anyway.
Yes.
Because at the time, what's your first name?
Maureen.
Maureen. At the time, Maureen was in love.
Yes.
Or
I didn't want to push them apart, her mother and herself. I figured
Smart idea.
that would end up in the wrong
Smart.
direction. Thank you.
Wouldn't have gone anywhere anyway.
No.
You need somebody to testify, right?
Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
The day that we went to Sausalito, Eric was rubbing my shoulders in front of the guy that we were
I
buying cotton
don't
from.
care, and neither does he.
As long as they're not my shoulders.
Well, I don't care about rubbing shoulders. Go someplace else if you want to talk about rubbing shoulders.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Maureen Mance says ex-boyfriend Greg Leaf owes for unpaid loans. Maureen says she started dating Greg when he was her high school swim coach, and she was just 17.
Okay. So far, you have not convinced me that you gave her $2,400.
The title.
I
was
see you
signed
there
over.
without any evidence.
The only evidence I would have had would have been the title of the car.
Except
which
Chipper
I
over
signed
here. And Chipper doesn't want to fall in my mouth again, do you, Chipper?
No, ma'am.
I'll also say, Your Honor, that she did not loan me nearly the amount, and then none of it was supposed to be a loan. She had told me during the course of this relationship that she was helping me out because we were together and because we were in a relationship.
I know.
And it was only after we broke up.
Listen to me, sir.
Yes.
A 17-year-old cannot make a contract with you.
None of the money was ever borrowed or any money that she ever spent was until after she had turned 18, so she would have been a legal adult at that time.
Which was only a few months later.
Couldn't you got it? You just love that man. Listen to me. Maureen, really good lesson.
Hard.
Hard
Very
lesson.
hard.
Over the course of 2 years, you gave him a whole lot of money. Now, ordinarily, I would dismiss your lawsuit because you have no evidence of a loan. You loved him. But he says he paid you back. That's his problem. And he can't prove it because he has no evidence. So what he wants me to do is believe a 25-year-old, because at that time he was 25, because he turned 18, eventually he turned 25,
Right.
that a 25-year-old man took money from an 18-year-old girl, and he wants me to believe that this 25-year-old man had no bank account, no checking account, kept his money under his mattress
When he had it.
when he had it. So I find that hard to believe, Mr. Leaf. Do you understand?
Yes.
Is your Crohn's disease under control?
Yes, it is.
Oh, how wonderful for you. Are you working full-time?
Yes, ma'am.
And you haven't fallen off any ladders lately?
No, ma'am.
Very good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,400, which is the amount you say you paid her back but can't prove. Maureen, be grateful.
I am. Thank you very much.
That's all.
Thank you.
Always are excused. You may step out.
In the beginning of our relationship, he wrote me letters telling me how much he loved me and how much he couldn't wait to spend his life with me.
We had both written letters to each other, and I wouldn't consider them to be romantic love letters.
I was young, I was naive, and it was a hard lesson.
And filmmaker Carrie Colmanero is suing her ex-husband, construction worker Michael Maddox, for having her falsely arrested for child abuse. Michael says Carrie spanked their 4-year-old son with a cutting board.
All rise. Yeah, this is case number 91 on the calendar, the matter of Colmanero versus Maddox. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Mrs. Colmanero, you and the defendant used to be married,
Yes.
and you have children together. And it is your claim that your former husband made false claims that you had and continue to abuse the children that you have together. And as a result of it, one of those claims, you were arrested. You want to be compensated to the tune of $5,000. And Mr. Maddox says that you have a history of child abuse the excessive corporal punishment of the children. He believes that you are still using corporal punishment on the children, and he has every right, and not only the right, but the responsibility as their parent to notify protective services and or the police that his children are at risk. Right?
Yeah, right.
Okay. How long were you married?
5 years.
How many children do you have?
2.
How old are they?
Hayden is 7 and Trevor is 5.
Do you have other children?
Yes, I do.
How old are they?
I have a 13-year-old.
Whose name is?
Is Cody. And a 9-year-old who is Jared.
Those children also live with you?
I do have my son, my 9-year-old lives with me.
Where is Cody?
Cody moved in with his father about 2-3 months ago.
Were any of those 2 children the subjects of child protective proceedings or complaints?
The accusations have been made for all 4 children.
By whom?
By Michael Maddox.
By anyone else?
By my husband. His ex-wife has also made claims.
Well, does your husband have children?
Yes, he does.
How many children does he have?
He has 3 children.
Were there allegations of corporal punishment made by his former wife with regard to his 3 children?
Yes, there has been.
And what were the nature of the complaints that were made by his former wife?
Molestation, different things of that nature.
I'm talking about excessive corporal punishment or corporal punishment. You know what that means?
Okay.
Corporal punishment?
No,
That means hitting excessively or using an instrument to hit.
For Cody, Jared, Hayden, and Trevor, there has been accusations made on all of the children.
To excessive corporal punishment?
Yes.
By Mr. Maddox?
Yes.
And by your husband's former wife?
Yes.
Okay, now we're getting there. When was the allegation made with regard to Trevor and Hayden that caused you to become arrested? Tell me about that incident.
That happened on February 12th.
Okay.
And the children had went to go visit their father that weekend, and later on that night, I had been arrested for abusing my son, my 4-year-old at the time. He was 4.
Okay, Mr. Maddox, the children were with you for a scheduled weekend visitation?
Yes, they was.
And tell me what happened.
What happened was she used to drop the children off at my sister's house. So when she dropped them off, I come over and I proceeded to pick my children up. I took my sons to my house and I started changing their clothes. I noticed the bruises. Right then I called.
Notice the bruises where?
On the buttocks. There was 3 places on the buttocks that they had bruises. This has
What
happened.
did the bruises look like?
They were small bruises, about a 1/4 inch wide, probably maybe an inch or so long, around their butt. So
On both children?
just one.
Which child?
The youngest one, Trevor.
Did you ask Trevor and or Hayden how that happened?
Yes, they did. They told me their mom spanked them with a paddle.
So who did you call?
I called the police department.
You indicate, Mr. Maddox, that your judgment of divorce, you indicate in your answer, that your judgment of divorce has an unusual paragraph in it with regard to corporal punishment.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have that with you?
I sure do.
I'd like to see it, please.
This wasn't the first time that this has happened.
Now, let me see it, and then I'll ask you questions. Okay? Well, there is a paragraph in your judgment of divorce that provides that neither party shall allow the use of corporal punishment upon the children. Was that a negotiated term of the separation agreement?
Well, what happened is I had to remodify it because it started happening before this case, and so I had it put in.
Had there been a history of that before, Mr. Maddox?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
What kind of a history, sir?
One time, right when she started dating Rick, she was living in a different county, and I picked him up, and he had bruises up and down his rear end.
Who?
Trevor had bruises that she was living with him at the time. And so I took him to the county that I was in, the police department. They took pictures. Well, they proceeded to try to find her, but she had came back into Stanislaus County, a different county, and they couldn't go over into that county. So I proceeded to have that, they were, CPS from the Merced County was checking it out, and so when she moved back into Stanislaus, the case kind of got dropped.
After you called the police, what happened on the 12th of February 2003?
The officer took the report. He called another officer out, a female officer that takes the pictures, and she proceeded to take pictures. Then he told me that...
Don't tell me what he told you. Just tell me, did either of the officers that respond speak to either Trevor or Hayden?
They did. They spoke to both the children.
And subsequent to that, they came to your home and arrested you.
That's correct.
Is that right?
That is correct.
When they arrested you, did they take anything from the house?
Yes, they did.
What did they take?
They asked me if I had a paddle, and I said I had a cutting board, which was confiscated. That is what I brought here today. It's a cutting board. You can see that I do use it as a cutting board.
Okay.
It hung in my kitchen. It's in my kitchen today. I did get it back because all allegations were dropped.
When?
That was dropped on March 27th. I have that court.
I'd like to see the
Okay.
court papers, please.
And the
Is this the only write-up? Does anybody have a police report, please?
I have a police report.
I'd like to see the police report. All this says is that the case was dismissed on the DA's motion for insufficient evidence.
Your Honor, I ask.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This has been dropped. This was stated after the fact.
What after the fact? What are you talking about? You have to be told not to hit children with instruments?
And later today,
He didn't pay.
No.
And he did go to the wedding.
Yes. He walked her down the aisle, did everything the father does, except for pay.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Carrie Colmanero says her ex-husband, Michael Maddox, had her falsely arrested for child abuse. Michael says Carrie spanked their 4-year-old son so hard, it left marks.
Is it true that you hit your children with a wooden paddle?
No, it is not true.
Then you're telling me that the police officer who filed this report is a liar. Is that what you're telling me? Did you know the police officer who responded to the scene on the 12th to arrest you? Had you ever seen him before?
I never previously seen him.
So there would be no reason for him to hold or harbor a grudge against you in any way. Is that right?
No.
Is that right? Is that right?
That is correct.
And there would be no reason for you to believe that he would hold or harbor a grudge against your husband in any way?
No.
Is that correct? So you believe that when he filed a police report, he filed a police report that accurately reflected both what he observed and what was said by both you and your husband. That would be a fair statement, would it not?
Yes.
Good. So I'm going to read to you from the police report.
Okay.
Okay? Let's start out with something simple. He responded on the 12th of February 2003 to the defendant's home. I will paraphrase that part of his report because it is not really germane to what I'm going to tell you. When he got to the defendant's home as a result of the defendant's telephone call, he examined your sons, and he found bruises and marks on Trevor. Mm-hmm. He then asked both boys, little boys, how that happened, and both boys said to the police officer that Mommy spanked me, and that's all they would say. They said nothing else. There were no marks viewed on Hayden, only on Trevor. But based upon those marks and the statement, they came to your residence. Now, fast forward. Police officer, I asked Carrie, that's your name, isn't it?
Yes.
If she had spanked either of her boys earlier that day. She advised that she had, with a wooden paddle, which was still located in the kitchen. At that point, I placed Carrie into custody for violating Penal Code Section 273, cruelty to a child. I then escorted Carrie out of the residence and secured her in the rear of the vehicle. As I was furthering my investigation, Deputy Jeff stayed with Carrie as I went back into the residence to interview Colmanero. That's you. I asked if he knew the whereabouts of the wooden paddle. He advised that it was in the kitchen. I followed Colmanero into the kitchen and watched as he retrieved an approximately 12-inch by 13-inch brown wooden paddle from the counter. I asked Colmanero what the paddle was used for. He advised that Carrie uses it to discipline both boys when they get out of line. At approximately 3:30, both boys, he said, were getting out of control and tearing up the house. He was very specific. He watched as Carrie yelled at both boys and grabbed the wooden paddle and then proceeded to spank the victim approximately 2 times, and Hayden 2 times for disobeying her. At that point, he didn't see any other physical injuries on either of the children. He also advised, that's him, that the last time Carrie had spanked the boys was 2 days before, on the 10th, at 7 p.m. for the same circumstances. Then the police officer interviewed your 2 older sons, who confirmed all of that. Both boys, your 2 older sons, say that that's your modus operandi. When they get out of line, you take a wooden paddle and you hit them. So my question to you is, first, stand up here. What are you complaining about? What's your lawsuit about?
My lawsuit is due to being arrested, and this has been dropped.
So, could be dropped. You did it.
There was nothing stated in our court custody that this was stated after the fact.
What after the fact? What are you talking about? What's after the fact? That you should not hit children with instruments? Is that what you're telling me?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Carrie Colmanero says her ex-husband, Michael Maddox, had her falsely arrested for child abuse. Michael says Carrie spanked their 4-year-old son so hard, it left marks.
You have to be told not to hit children with instruments?
I am saying that this incident is not... I have the DA's information here, and they have overlooked the children. If you would take a look at this also.
Listen to me, madam. Your husband said that you hit the children with a paddle, correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
And you say that that's her standard operating procedure for dealing with the children, correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
And that the children had marks as a result of that, at least one of the children, correct?
Correct.
You weren't falsely arrested. The case was ironically, erroneously, stupidly dismissed. For what reason, I don't know. Maybe he had a DA who's got his head up his behind. We do not hit children with instruments. You got it? Goodbye. The case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, I think the judge knew what she was talking about. And, I was just hoping that the district attorney in my area would go ahead and pick it up.
I am not a cruel mother, nor have I ever been, and Michael Maddox is very aware of that.
I just think that they can see right through it with all my documentation that, you know, she was just after money from me.
I only pray that he stops doing this, lets my husband and I go on and live our lives and parent our children.
They just, you know, quit doing that to my kids. We won't have a problem.
Obviously, if we were mean, they'd be dead by now, or at least, you know, out of our hands. And that's not the truth.
I would like to be custody of the kids, you know, so they live with me in a stable home.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lewis versus Robbins. Step forward, please.
Homemaker Debbie Lewis is suing her ex-husband, assembly line worker James Robbins, for half the cost of their daughter's wedding. Debbie says he reneged on his promise to pay.
Miss Lewis, the defendant is your former husband, and according to the complaint that I read, he agreed to pay for half of your daughter's wedding. Which one of these 2 lovelies is getting married? What's your name?
Angie.
How old are you, Angie?
23.
When are you getting married?
I already got married. I got married in September.
And he agreed to pay for half the wedding, and it was a very reasonably priced wedding. Half the cost of the wedding was $865. And he didn't pay.
No.
And you wanted to pay.
Yes.
And he did go to the wedding.
Yes. He walked her down the aisle, did everything the father does, except for pay.
Okay. Now, Mr. Robbins does not deny the fact that he agreed to pay for half the wedding. Correct, sir?
Correct.
And he does not deny the fact that he went to the wedding. Correct?
Correct.
And who else went with you to the wedding?
My wife, Robin.
So, Mr. Robbins, the ball is in your court, sir. Why didn't you pay for half your daughter's wedding as you promised?
Well, because ever since I left her in '90, she's been putting her hands in my pockets trying to get money out of me for everything. And the divorce decree that we have does say that she gets to use the kids for taxes reasons. But the state of Utah took custody from her because of verbal and physical abuse. And I got a paper here that says that the divorce decree follows the child. And it cost me $1,600 because she did claim my daughter on taxes where I have the right to. And I also have a letter from her that's showing that the custodial parent gets to claim them on taxes. And if that's the case, I didn't get to claim them for 13 years that we've been divorced.
If you believe that in a certain year, I assume last year, that you had the right to claim a child as a deduction, she claims the child. You claim the child, and the IRS is going to come and look at both of your tax returns and say they will make a decision as to who is going to claim the child as a deduction. The other one will have a penalty. But you don't do a set-off. You promise to pay for half the wedding. Why didn't you pay her between September and April?
I told her that I would pay her when I could, which was...
No, that's not right. What do you mean when you could? How many children do you have?
Well, I have 4 with my wife now.
We have 3 children.
Just a second. You have 4 children now, and how many children do you have that got married last year?
Just 1.
And you said you would pay for half the wedding.
Yes, I did.
Pay for it. It's the right thing to do, and stop making excuses, and stop telling me what happened in 1990, that she's had her hand in your pocket.
Well, it's just all added up. I mean, everything's added up.
Mr. Robbins, you have altogether 7 children?
Well, I've got 4 stepchildren, 3.
Then I'm not talking about your stepchildren. They are not your responsibility.
Oh, I married them, so I feel they are.
Well, I'm telling you, by law, they are not your responsibility unless your family is on welfare, are they?
No.
Well, if your family is not on welfare, then those children are not your financial responsibility. They are the financial responsibility of their mother and their father, not you. You have primary responsibility for only 3 biological children. 3. And your first biological child was getting married. She was having a very small wedding. $865 represents your half. And if you didn't have the money to pay the $865, you should have gotten another job. If I make myself clear, sir?
Yes.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $865. Thank you.
Justice case number 156 on the calendar in the matter of Nehemiah versus Petrie Carpenter. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated.
Mr. and Mrs. Niemeyer, these folks were friends of yours.
Were.
And then, sometime several months ago, according to your complaint, you had a falling out over $100.
Yeah.
And you claim as a result of this falling out that the defendants damaged your car, assaulted you, you want damages. The defendants say that you became an aggressor over this $100, and you, in fact, assaulted them, and they are counterclaiming. So first, why don't you tell me what happened on this day? When was it, in April?
I went to a customer's house. I was running a side business.
What kind of business?
Computer work, building computers, setting up networks. I was having a problem with a satellite, so I called Chris out. He went to our apartment and took my wife's car from there, left his wife there.
Okay, well, these are details that I really don't think I need because I've read your complaint, and your complaint says that you gave him $100 for his day's work in helping you.
Yes.
And he gave you the $100.
Yeah, he gave me the $100.
Go ahead.
His wife was asleep when we got back. She was pregnant, so I went to sleep on the couch.
Mr. Niemeyer, listen to me carefully, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? Because I have other things to do tonight.
I understand. Sorry.
You gave him the $100. According to you, they slept at your house.
Yes.
And the next morning, the $100 was missing. Is that right?
Right, my stuff had been rummaged through.
That's not true.
Yeah.
Shh. The $100 was missing. And they believed that either you or your wife took the $100.
Which we didn't.
So pick up from that point.
Okay. Basically, he woke up and somehow his stuff was scattered out through my house. It's like he had been through my house and looking for stuff to steal or something. I don't understand it. I don't understand how stuff gets his stuff that was in his pockets when I went to bed is scattered out throughout my house, and he's looking at my car and everything.
I know how
My MP3 player was missing.
Listen to me.
My laptop was missing.
Listen to me. None of those things, Mr. Niemeyer, are contained. Listen to me.
I'm listening.
Are contained in your complaint that your things were missing. So I don't want to hear it. He woke up, his $100 is missing. He asks you about it. Your wife says, I'll look for it. They leave. Sometime later that day, they either came or called. Which was it?
Well, early when they were leaving, we got in big arguments. She was saying, I'm going to kick your
But
oh, you mean there was a dispute before they left in the morning?
Before they even left, they were accusing me of stealing. You know, it's like I just paid him $100, and
yeah, why would you take it back if you just paid him? That's ridiculous.
Yes, I don't understand it. So he called back later and he said, "Hey, y'all," or he had Brandy call back later and talk to Jennifer. She said
just
no.
a second.
Okay.
His wife called back and spoke to you?
Yes, ma'am.
What did she say to you and what did you say to her?
She told me that I needed to have my husband give her man back the $100.
And what did you say to her?
I told her that I would talk to him, but it was between them. I knew that my husband hadn't taken the money. We looked all over the house. Chris had lost it.
Did they come back to the house?
Yes, they did.
What time?
10:30
10:30
p.m.
Had they called first to tell you that they were coming?
Basically, at that point, Chris had called me back and said, "What's your gate code?"
Gate code?
Yeah, it's getting our apartments. I said, "Chris, you just need to turn around and leave. You know, I don't want to get kicked out of my apartment." Then, at that moment, I knew, knowing Chris for so long, I needed to go out there and look. Well, I went out there and looked. He had driven around in the exit gate when somebody had left.
So he was in your apartment complex?
Yes, ma'am. So at that point, I ran back upstairs. I called Craig and said, "Look, dude, I don't know what's going on."
Why did you call Craig?
Huh? Well, I didn't know what to do. You know,
Who's Craig?
Huh? This is my lady.
Well, I know. I see Craig sitting over there. I mean, what is he?
He's just a neighbor, basically.
He lives in the same complex?
Yes, I just wanted somebody to be able to see what was going on.
You didn't call the police?
At the moment, we thought we could talk things out and that things wouldn't escalate to that point. I went outside and tried to talk to them.
What did you say to them?
Brandy was really polite to me. I told her that if they were coming to start stuff, they couldn't do it there. We have 2 children, a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old, that don't need to be around that. And they didn't leave when I asked them to leave.
And?
At that moment, I went down there to talk to Chris. By the time I got out there and I noticed that it was just a screaming and holler match, I started to come back. Well, at that point, Chris started pushing me. "Give me my money, or I'm going to punch your face in."
Never pushed you.
Police report.
He pushed me all the way back
Let me
up
ask
to
you
my
this
apartment.
question.
Excuse me, Judge.
And Chris, you weren't the only 4 people in the house.
There are 2
There are
kids.
2 kids.
Right. There were 2 toddlers, right?
Right.
Okay. Now, would you give me a reason why this friend of yours, who you've known since you were children, who called you to come for a day's work, who took out the money to pay you, would then, while you were sleeping, rummage through your things and steal the $100 that he had just given you? It doesn't make sense. Now, is it possible that one of the 2 toddlers was going around the house and while you were all sleeping and rummaging through your stuff and his stuff and sort of scattered everything all over the place? Is that possible?
It's possible.
And then the money would have been gone. Is that possible?
She would have found it when she was cleaning.
Not necessarily. What if the toddler took your $100 and flushed it down the toilet? Would she have found it?
No.
Now, tell me in your own words, what happened when they came back at 10:30 at night?
Well, he started pushing me, and so I walked upstairs. I was trying to go back in the house. I was going to get Jennifer to call the police. At that moment, I turned around, and he's still right there, and he's trying to get in my house. So I pushed him back out of my front doorstep, because I wasn't going to let him in my house. At that moment, Brandy came walking upstairs.
You pushed my knee,
this is
hit me in the
Brandy.
stomach
Anyway,
where I was pregnant.
when I pushed,
Don't speak.
when I pushed Chris back, pushed him like that to get him out of my doorstep. At that moment, Chris said, "You hit me." Turned around and swung me. He hit me across the side of my head. Brandy came over the top of him, and their 3rd little guy, whoever he was, I don't know who he was, came running upstairs, and they all 3 commenced to hit me on my balcony. At that moment, I slid out, and Jennifer comes running out.
I heard noises. I came outside. All 3 of them were on top of him. My first thought was get Brandy off. She's 7 months pregnant, and I even told her, I said, "Look, you want to beat him up? Beat him up. Wait till you're done being pregnant." I said, "That's between y'all, but not
After
when
he
you're
hit me in the
pregnant."
stomach, I was defending myself.
Sure, she
Listen
was
to
on top
me.
of him.
Listen to me. Big mouth. Big stupid mouth. When you're 7 months pregnant, you don't go back to a house where there has been an altercation in the morning when you know it's very possible that there's going to be another altercation. You stay home. You get it? And if you put yourself in the middle of a fight and then say, "Oh, don't touch me, I'm 7 months pregnant." If you're 7 months pregnant, you use your brains if you can find them and stay home.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Hey,
Chris brings his fist up and punches Josh.
He had hit her in the stomach and she's pregnant.
Got in my face and I pushed his face back out of mine.
You and your wife were having a very bad day, period.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Joshua and Jennifer Niemeyer claim former friends Chris Petrie and girlfriend Brandy Carpenter caused them to be evicted and broke the rear window of their car. The Niemeyers claim the incident started over a missing $100.
Come on, let's go.
At the point when I pulled Brandy off, the other guy had gotten off too, and it was just Chris and Josh, and they ran down the stairs fighting. And Josh yelled at me, just go grab $100, give him $100, make him leave. So I went, got the $100, went to hand it to Chris. Chris said, he's going to hand it to me. So I handed the money to Josh. Josh handed the money to Chris.
So he said, he's going to hand it to me. Another idiot. Yeah, go ahead.
So Josh hands the money to Chris. As he's handing the money to Chris, I'm standing there, and Chris brings his fist up and punches Josh, and then says, don't hit me. Josh at never one point hit him. He was handing him $100.
Then what happened?
I lost it. I threw the money at him in his face and started, I was like, Jennifer, I gotta get out of here. You know, I'm on probation. I'm not trying, I've straightened my life out.
Possession of a controlled substance.
Yes, I'm on probation. I've straightened my life out. You know, I just need to get out of here.
So he left.
So you went to leave. Now, when he went to leave in his car, you chased him, according to your answer. Now he's leaving.
To get the license plate number. So she was running down to call the police because he had hit her in the stomach and she's pregnant. I never touched her.
What? Let me ask you this question.
He just came out swinging and hit her in the stomach.
Listen to me. Why were you there at 10:30 at night?
To talk to him about the money.
No, you went to his house to confront him about the money. And you had already had an altercation with him in the morning. And if you were going to go over there to have a confrontation with him, why did you go over there angry, which you were, and
I wasn't angry when I went.
Oh, yes, you were, sir. That's why you went there. And who did you bring with you?
I brought her with me.
Who else?
And my witness.
You brought a friend with you. Why did you bring the friend with you?
Because I was taking him home because we were out together.
Out where?
Ma'am,
Out where?
Out at her brother's house.
Doing what?
Seeing my nephew?
Yeah.
You know, I don't believe anything that you tell me. I think you're a troublemaker. And not a very smart troublemaker, because for somebody who's going to have a baby, you have to be a little more protective of an innocent than placing yourself in a situation that you know is potentially trouble. You understand each other?
Yes.
Good. You did, sir, a very foolish thing. Not only did you go back for a little more trouble and bring a friend with you.
He just happened to be in the car with us.
He got out of the car, didn't he?
When we first pulled up and I went to talk to Josh, he stayed in the vehicle.
Chris, is there a gate at their complex?
Yes.
Was the gate open when you got there?
Yes. The gate is usually open.
No, I didn't ask you if it's... Listen, you follow me.
Okay.
I didn't ask you whether the gate is usually open. I said, was the gate open on the evening of the 25th of April when you got there?
Yes.
Obviously not.
No. You're fibbing to me.
Do you have
You're
phone
fibbing.
records?
Just a second. You're fibbing to me.
Okay. The gate was open.
The front gate was not open.
You can believe what you want.
Okay, so after you ran out to your car and Chris followed you out to your car, I want you to describe what happened.
I know the way Chris is and what he
Don't tell me what you know. Just tell me what happened.
I turned around and looked, and I saw Brandy and the other guy. They were going back to their car. I didn't see Chris at that moment, and so I had put the car in reverse, had just let off the brake, and all of a sudden I hear, thunk, hit and run. I turned around and flipped him off.
He jumped on his windshield and then yelled, hit and run, got
Did
up.
the police report that he hit her?
What did I tell you? What did I tell you?
Anyway, at that moment, I'm so fed up with all this crap that's going on. I didn't let him in the apartments. I told him to go away. I just, turned around, flipped him off, and said, Chris, whatever. I know your games. And at that moment, Chris is standing in front of my car. I let off the brake, not with the gas on, but where the car just slowly rolls to push him out of the way. Because,
Did you
all they were
ultimately
there,
leave?
all they were there.
Sir, listen to me carefully. Did you ultimately leave?
After he had jumped through my windshield, yes.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Joshua and Jennifer Niemeyer say former friends Chris Petrie and Brandy Carpenter owe for causing them to be evicted and for vandalizing their vehicle.
Would you step up, sir, please? Step up.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me your name.
My name's Craig Majors.
Mr. Majors, take your hands out of your pockets.
Yes, ma'am.
Were you a witness to any of this?
What I saw is very little, actually. I mean, whenever I was coming back from getting laundry, all I heard was a thump and some screaming.
So you didn't see anything?
Oh, yeah, I saw. Yes,
well,
I
then I
did.
want you to tell me what you saw, sir.
Oh, okay, what I saw was him backing away from his car and some yelling going on.
And?
Well, Josh tried to proceed forward, and whenever he did so, it kind of looks like he did just a back dive or a back buster on his window. And I didn't see if it broke the window or anything, but I did hear the loud, crash. Not actually broken glass, but maybe the hood.
Okay, good. And that's
all I can see is him run and jump on the front of his car, and
that's
that was
what you
it.
saw.
He did not get hit like somebody getting hit at 50 miles an hour.
Good. Have a seat.
Thank you.
Now, you have a police report?
Yes, ma'am.
We actually have 3. They were really
Can I see
busy
them,
that
please?
weekend, and these are all 3 from the same weekend, different occurrences.
One of those is right before us.
Who's Tony? Who's Tony?
I believe that was
right before our house.
that was at a gas station. She assaulted him.
She assaulted another
Do you
guy.
know who Tony Gonzalez is, madam?
Yes.
So how come you didn't answer me?
Well, I didn't know the guy's name.
Well, now I'm telling you, you were arrested with regard to an incident.
I was never arrested.
On 425, well, this says arrested person, information number 1. Date arrested, 42504. Person arrested, Brandy, that's you?
Yes, but I was
Okay.
never arrested.
And the complainant was one Tony Gonzalez. Now tell me about that. That's on the same date as this incident.
Right. We were at a gas station, and he almost hit my car, and whenever he was pulling in the other side, I was parked this way, he was pulling in on the other side of the pump. And I looked at him like, don't hit my car, and he made comments of me being a white, and da-da-da-da, whatever, and we exchanged words. Well, I got out of the car, and he got in my face, and I pushed his face back out of mine.
What part are you forgetting?
Shh, I don't want to hear you when I'm not speaking to you.
Yes, ma'am.
And the cops came.
This is the same date as this incident, is that right? April 25th.
Yes. It was way later.
So
happened in the
after the police were involved with this other assault with regard to Tony Gonzalez, who you put your hands on.
Yes.
While you were 7 months pregnant. Then you and your husband went back to their house.
Not directly after, but yes, later on that evening.
Later on that evening.
Yes.
Oh, you must have had a really good day on April 25th.
There's also one.
Shh, I didn't ask you a question. Okay. The gas station attendant in this incident, Brandy, says, and she doesn't know you, and she doesn't know the victim. This independent witness says that she observed you being the instigator in the incident and stated that she saw you cursing and slapping Mr. Gonzalez.
I never slapped. I pushed him back, his face out of mine, yes.
You told the police that you pushed him in the face.
Yes.
That's not a slap. You pushed him in the face. Interesting girl. You're an interesting girl. All right. And then I have this, and the only one I'm interested in is the independent witness who lives in the complex, who says that you ran out after the car and you were screaming at him, "Give me my blank money or I'll smash you in the face." That's just from somebody who didn't want to be involved.
If you read the
Listen out
paragraph
window.
above it, please read the paragraph above it where it's a witness that has no relation to anybody who said that she was walking to her car in the parking lot when she saw suspect 1 hit complaint.
Oh, I believe that he hit you.
Confiscated vehicle.
I believe that he hit you.
Yes.
I believe that he hit you. I believe it's your fault. When you look for trouble, you're going to find it.
I wasn't looking for trouble.
Oh,
I went
going over
to
there
talk.
at 10:30 at night to a home where there are 2 toddler children is looking for trouble. Earlier that day, you had been in another altercation with them. So you and your wife were having a very bad day, period. Period. And if there was an altercation at his front door and he was trying to leave, which he was, to get away from the police, to get away from you, but he was trying to get away because you say he ran to his car and I followed him. And you told me that you went there just for the purpose of getting his license plate. That's what you swore to about 15 minutes ago. But that's not true because you've known him for a very long time. He's not going to disappear. He's got a wife and 2 children. So your counterclaim is dismissed. If you got injured that day in his car, too bad. And if she got a bellyache in the car because she was there, because he hit her, that's her problem. She and her 7-month fetus should have been home in bed at 10:30 at night. Now, let's get to you.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Your car was damaged?
Yes.
How much?
We have a receipt right here for...
$180 for the windshield, and then it was $462 to get out of impound.
Okay. I believe that they're responsible for that. I believe that but for the fact that they came to your house at 10:30 at night looking for trouble, this whole unfortunate incident wouldn't have happened. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $642. That's all.
Yeah, this is case number 199 on the calendar, the matter of Stevenson versus Conti. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
Miss Stevenson, this is your son. Your son's name is Joseph?
Yes.
Miss Conti, this is your son, and his name is Joey.
Yes, Your Honor.
And your son, Joey, along with several friends, these 2 people among them?
They were there with us. Yeah.
They egged Mrs. Stevenson's house and car. Miss Stevenson says that in addition to doing damage to her home and her car, when you were advised about it, you said that you would take care of whatever damage was caused by your son and his friends, and then didn't do it. So she's suing you for the cost of cleaning up the house and car. Is that right?
3 cars.
3 cars.
And a garage.
And I assume you have photographs of the damage?
Yes, I do, and I also have a videotape, too, that shows everything.
Of what?
Of the defendant and his friends egging the house.
Can I see the tape
Sure you
before
can.
we even start? You know, pictures worth 1,000 words. Let's take a look. Mr. Conti, young Mr. Conti over here, he doesn't deny that he was there.
No.
And even threw an egg or 2. Is that right, Mr. Conti?
Yes, Your Honor, I threw 1, but it hit my own car.
Well, that was...
It was so long ago, I just know it didn't hit anything.
Joey, say nothing else.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
It's on 3 times. That's the first car. This is the second one. It does a repeat and then it has highlights. The first car is his 2 witnesses were in that car.
Why did you become involved in this vandalism, Joey?
Well, it was an ongoing game between me and Joe, I guess, because he had done this to our house before in the past, and also like on Halloween. I've seen him egg people before out of his car.
When was that?
About a couple months before.
Now, when Joseph egged your house, did you report it to the police?
No. We don't have video cameras, and we didn't have proof. We don't have...
What do you mean? Just a second. If you didn't have proof, then how do you know he did it?
Because I came outside while they were doing it, and I saw him drive up the street, and my father followed him.
Just a second. That's proof.
Your Honor,
You don't need a video camera.
Your Honor, we just went out. We hosed our garage. We hosed the car. Everything came off. We chalked it up to harmless pranks.
Yeah.
I didn't make a big issue out of it.
Fine. You didn't see him throw an egg at your house, did you?
That's correct.
Right. And since I don't believe him, that he threw 1 egg that came back and hit him in the face, I don't believe him either.
I threw it over, I was driving, and I just threw it like this, and I couldn't even make it to the house. It was pretty far away.
I don't care.
Okay.
If you tell the truth all the time, you don't have to have a good memory.
I'm just...
Did anybody ever say that to you?
Yes.
Do you understand what it means?
Yes.
Good. So you and your friends are sitting around whose house when you decide to go on this egg spree?
My friend Darren's house.
Where is Darren?
He lives just up the street from...
Not one of these 2 people.
No, he's not here. He didn't come today because...
I don't care why he didn't come. He didn't come today because he was pregnant. I don't care. You were sitting around Darren's house. How many people are sitting around Darren's house?
There's about 6 of us.
And how many of you have cars?
2 of us.
And how many cars were loaded up to go over to his house?
2. And we only had 4 eggs with us.
I don't believe you! Okay. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
You have photographs of the house?
I have it of the cars in the garage.
I'll take a look at those.
And I have estimates.
No, I just want to look at the photographs. You know what I mean? I'm not interested to hear what they have to say yet. Would you ask her to show me where on this car she's pointing to as a damage? I mean, I'm looking at 2 spots on your garage.
You see the egg on the garage,
here,
yes.
and here.
Now, the black car with the spots on it, that's the rear end of the Yukon. The other cars were repaired. I'm just showing you the cars repaired.
I don't see $2,000 worth of damage, madam. I'm just telling you.
Oh, well, I have...
I'm telling you, I don't see $2,000 worth of damage. Listen to me carefully. Okay. I don't see $2,000 worth of damage. I'm not excusing him. I'm not finished with him yet, as a matter of fact. But I'm not seeing $2,000 worth of damage. Now, let's get back to you. Put your papers down.
Sorry.
What you are complaining about, and I assume your mother is complaining about, is why you are being singled out to pay for this damage rather than going after all of the other boys.
Exactly.
Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, I'm going to explain that to you.
Okay.
When you commit a crime, you're not entitled to be treated like everybody else who commits the same crime. Let me give you an example. I'm going to go back into my history. And Officer Petrie Hawkins Bird here is going to affirm what I said because I know he's a truthful person. When I was a judge in the family court and I would get teenagers who committed crimes, much more serious ones than this, although this is annoying, and very often there would be a group of boys who would commit a robbery. And because of the way the law is written, sometimes the cases were assigned to a different judge. One judge would try one of the boys, another judge would try the second boy, another judge would try the first boy. And every time one of the boys got me, they would say, "That's not fair. I want somebody else. I want his judge."
Understand.
And I would say, "You got the luck of the draw. You got me. It doesn't have to be equal. Everybody's equal in the eyes of the law. But that doesn't mean that you have to be treated equally."
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She is very, very Sue happy.
Maybe she came after you because you did something wrong.
Yeah, and we did do something. Sorry.
And later today.
Her father didn't approve of you.
Yeah.
Like what?
Got arrested.
For what?
Selling weed.
Selling weed?
Yeah.
You mean selling drugs?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Deneen Stevenson says 18-year-old Joey Cotty egged her house and car. Joey says he wasn't the only one.
She picked you.
Okay.
And she picked you maybe because she doesn't like the color of your eyes. Quiet. I'm making a point here. She picked you. She says, "I don't want to have to go out and hunt down his mother and his mother and his mother and go to court 4 different times. I want you to pay for all the damage that was caused to my house."
I think one of the reasons she picked me, Your Honor, is because she is very, very Sue happy. And we have evidence of her and her past, even from her own family members that have moved away just to get away from her. And she's been involved with some of the other kids before, so I think she came after me because I don't really know her.
Maybe she came after you because you did something wrong.
Yeah, and we did do something. Sorry, we did do something wrong, and
What difference is it?
We admit it.
What do you want?
Your Honor, he admitted it from the very start when the police called him.
Then why did you go and get this whole list of other people she sued?
Because the damage does not warrant.
I don't care about that, sir. I don't care if she sued everybody from A to M in the phone book. Do you understand? That's her prerogative. And she wouldn't have sued you if you didn't do something wrong.
Yes, sir.
You want to be treated like these boys. According to you, she accepted their apology and they...
No.
Oh, just a second. According to you, and I'm going to read what you said in your answer. She said, Your Honor, I'm speaking. She even knows the driver of the second car whose apologies she accepted.
His parents came to my house.
Just a second.
Okay.
Do I look like I need your help?
No.
She can accept everybody's apology but yours. Maybe she doesn't like people with hazel eyes.
We tried to apologize, Your Honor, and she said my mom went to go apologize, and we got the whole team ready to go apologize, and I was ready, and I wrote a letter and everything to go apologize to her. And the day we were going to go apologize, my mother called her and she said, "Oh, that won't be necessary. We're going to sue you now." So this is what
Just a
happened.
second. How much after this incident were you going to apologize?
Oh, within the week. Within the
Just a
week.
second. What about the next day?
Your Honor, I didn't
I'm
find...
speaking. Not you. Him. Why didn't you go the next day?
Because we just didn't.
What do you mean because you just didn't?
We had to get everyone together.
What do you mean because you just
Because
didn't?
I wanted to get everybody together. Because I was basically the only one that admitted to doing this.
Just a minute. When did you contact the police?
The very day, that same day.
When did the police contact you?
A couple weeks after.
Not before.
No.
Did you tell him that you had contacted the police?
Yes, I confronted him in school.
When?
Like, after I realized it was his car when we watched the tape at night, so the following school day.
Step up here. You're Joseph.
Yes.
You told him the following day that you had contacted the police or the following school day?
Yes, the following school day.
And you just wanted to get everybody together before you went to apologize. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
But he had already told you that he had contacted the police.
Yes.
Right. You get it.
And we got that day. I got everybody together, and we were ready. My mom called, and we were ready to go apologize. And she
Would you
went
have been
sick.
ready to go over and apologize if they hadn't called the police?
Yes. We would have. I would have apologized.
What catharsis did you have between the time that you egged his property and the time that you were prepared to apologize
After he came up to me at school.
and told you that the police had been called?
He didn't tell me the police had been called that. No, he didn't tell me the police had been
What
called.
did he say?
He just said he came up to me with a bunch of his friends, like they were trying to. They came up to me like aggressively, and they were like, "Well, did you do this?" And I'm like, "Yes." And then that's all. They never said the police had been called. They just walked away after that
Well, why would you want to apologize after that, Joey?
because they were so angry about it.
You owe for the damage to their property. It's not $2,000. Get over it. It's not going to happen. Do I make myself clear?
I have my estimates right here.
I
for
don't
the
care.
cars
You
that
can
were
take the
repaired.
estimates and wallpaper with them. I see what your pictures show.
No, those after.
Then
after it's
then
painted.
that is your problem. I already told you that you can take the estimates and you can wallpaper your bathroom with them. I've looked at the photographs and I don't see $2,000 worth of damage. You're not going to retire on this incident. It's ridiculous because you're a smart lady.
I don't need to
You're not-
retire on
I'm
it.
speaking. What he did was bad enough. When you exaggerate it and don't tell the truth, you're no better off than he is.
I'm not exaggerating.
You are exaggerating, madam, because anybody who calls the police because they have $2,000 worth of damage to their house and they call the police the same day, take pictures. They take pictures if they intend to pursue it, because if the police came, I'm speaking.
Okay.
And if the police came and took pictures, then you would have them. And if the police didn't take pictures, then you make sure that you have them in order to preserve whatever rights you want to have in a lawsuit. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $300. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
My son is never out on Halloween because we're home as a family handing out candy.
I guess it's over now since they take things very, very serious.
Oh, through the school year, she was a troublemaking mom.
I had offered Mrs. Stevenson $500 to just forget the whole thing because she made my life a living hell.
I'm upset because they're liars.
She refused it. She said she couldn't accept that. So I just told her, do what you have to do then.
The kids did the damage. They don't have to pay for it. But there'll be another time.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Forzetting versus Anna. Step forward.
Construction worker Tony Forzetting is suing his son's ex-girlfriend, 18-year-old food server Nikki Hanna, for unpaid rent and utility bills. Tony says when Nikki's father kicked her out, he let her move in.
Is this your son?
Yes, ma'am.
Is this the one who was in jail?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Forzetting, this young lady was this young man's girlfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
And how old are you?
18.
And for some bizarre reason, you made the foolish error of allowing her to move into your house because she and your son were boyfriend and girlfriend, right?
Correct.
And at this point, you say she owes you for rent and other expenses that she was supposed to pay for the 4 months that she was living with you. That's
Yes,
what the
ma'am.
case is about. How old are you?
20.
And your name?
Steven, Fredette.
Stephen, how old was Miss Hannah when you met her?
16.
And how old was she when she moved into your house?
18.
Why?
Because her and her dad got into it and he threw her out.
What?
Because her and her father got into it and he threw her out.
Got into it?
Yeah,
What did they get into it about?
about me.
Her father didn't approve of you.
Yeah.
Did he have reason not to approve of you?
Yeah, because I was not being that great.
Like what?
Got arrested.
For what?
Selling weed.
What?
Selling weed.
You mean selling drugs?
Yes, ma'am.
How many times were you arrested for selling drugs?
Just once.
So that's why her father didn't like you.
Yes, ma'am.
Sounds right to me.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was 2003, Christmas Eve. It was her birthday also. She got in a big fight with her dad. Her dad's thrown her out several times. I guess she didn't want to follow his rules. She was still going to school at the time. She was in her senior year. I have a daughter that's 17 at the time. I didn't want to see her on the streets.
Good. Sounds very nice. And she was going to school. Is she a full-time student in high school?
Yes, she was.
How did you expect her to pay you rent?
Well, I didn't ask her to pay me rent right away, Your Honor, when she first moved in. I told her when she got in, got a part-time job. Those would be the rules in my house to stay
What,
in
did
school.
Did she get a part-time job?
She did, yeah.
When?
2 weeks down the road. I would say within a month and a half.
So sometime in February?
Yes, Your Honor.
So in February, did you ask her for any money?
I said, Nikki, you got a job. We had an agreement when you moved in. I'm not pressuring you. She indicated to me that she wasn't making that much. I said, that's fine. It's only a part-time job. Just give us what you can until you can get caught up or down the road. And
So, did she ever give you any money?
no, Your Honor.
So what are you suing her now for?
Well, come April 24th, we had a conversation again about paying rent. This time we approached it with an agreement. We had words.
At this time, was your son in the house?
No, he was not.
He was in jail.
Yes, he was.
So after your son was taken to jail, that's when you went and approached her about signing an agreement.
No, the agreement was signed several months down the road.
Oh, show it to me.
I have the agreement right here.
Can I see it,
It
please?
wasn't written until the 24th, which is when I moved out.
I'm talking about, sir, I'm not talking about the agreement that you wanted her to sign in April. You said that she signed one before?
No, she did not. It was all verbal before, Your Honor.
Verbal, you had no contract with us,
No
sir.
contract, all
No
verbal.
contract. You didn't have a verbal contract with us, sir. Your agreement was when you get a job, you'll start paying us something. And then when she got a job, a couple of months later, you said take care of your own bills first and then pay us what you can. Well, she couldn't pay anything. That's not a contract. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Very good. Now, you took her in, and you took her in because her father threw her out because of your son. When she came into your house, did they share a room?
Sure did, Your Honor.
Mm-hmm. Don't open your house to strangers, sir. It's a bad idea. Your case is dismissed.
This is case number 160 on the calendar in the matter of Halsey versus O'Neill Clark.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Miss Halsey, according to your complaint, the defendant assaulted you.
Yes.
At your home.
Yes.
And the defendant says that this was a fight that was precipitated by you. You just got the worst of it. That's your defense.
Yes.
Yes.
Are you chilly? Are you very chilly?
Yes.
That's because you dressed inappropriately to come to court.
I'm sorry.
So maybe we could find you a sweater or something to put on so you're not so chilly and not so inappropriately clad for court.
I'm very sorry, ma'am.
Good. So you step outside and see if we can find you something to wear. You remember the name Judge Jane Boland?
Oh, yes. Very well.
So let's go see if we can find her a trench coat or something back there.
That's Judge Boland.
See if we can find her something back there, Bert.
I will be right
Very
back.
good. Thank you. I get distracted when I have to watch somebody's navel, except my 3-year-old grandchild.
Okay.
Much more appropriate. Who's Darcy?
I am.
Good. You're Jessica?
Yes.
Miss Halsey, I want you to tell me when this assault took place.
On Friday, January 16th, 2004, it all started at my job. They came in and started harassing me.
The same day?
Yes.
How do you know these two girls?
I was good friends with Darcy for a while, and Jessica went to my school last year. Now she's dating my ex-boyfriend.
Jessica's dating your ex-boyfriend.
Yes.
What happened earlier in the day on the 16th?
I was working, and my cousin Angelica, she came in to visit me at work, and about, I'd say 15 minutes later, they came in with my ex-boyfriend. They just wanted a drink, and they were just starting crap, basically, just asking for the manager, just laughing and making fun of me pretty much. I was trying to tell them to leave, so eventually they left, and I went home.
Where were you working at the time?
Taco Bell.
How long had you been working there?
I'd say 2 months.
So 2 of them and your ex-boyfriend came in. She's dating your ex-boyfriend. So when you got home, you were really upset. What did you do?
I called his mother and told her to have him not bother me anymore, because I hadn't talked to him or these 2 girls for about 4 months before all this happened. We just stopped being friends. They said they didn't like me, and I just moved on, and basically they came into my work out of nowhere.
Okay, so you called ex-boyfriend's mother and said, please let him leave you alone.
Yes.
What's the next thing that happened?
I was home for a while, and then I get a phone call from Jessica, just being really immature, saying that they wanted to come over and beat me up, and I didn't understand why, because we hadn't talked in a long time. And
What did she exactly say to you, if you remember?
She kept calling me and I was like, okay, if I am, that's no reason to come and beat me up. So.
Well, what did she say about beating you up?
She just kept saying, you're going down, basically. She's like, we're coming over, we're gonna beat you up.
Did she say anything about the phone call that you had placed to the ex-boyfriend's mother?
No,
Yes
she
or
didn't.
no?
She handed
No.
the phone to him.
To the ex-boyfriend?
Yes, and he kept saying, never call my house, never call any of my friends ever again.
Okay. So they were together. 3 of them were together.
Yes.
All right, what's the next thing that happened?
They call me telling me they want to meet me at the store across the street from my house because I kept telling them not to come to my home. And they called me from...
What time was this?
I'd say around 9 o'clock.
What time was the first telephone call to your house?
Between 8:30 and 8:45.
And then they called back at 9 o'clock?
Yeah.
Who did you speak to when they called back at 9 o'clock?
Darcy.
What did she say to you?
She said for me not to be such a coward and to show up at Albertsons, that they were going to beat me up. And I was like, whatever. Basically just get them off the phone. So then they hung up on me. And about 5 minutes later, they called me from Albertsons, the store across the street from my house, and they said they were there waiting for me. And I was like, I'm not going. I'm not showing up. I don't know what you were thinking. And they hung up before I could even say anything else. And next thing I know, I hear them squealing up my driveway. It was like, by that time it was around 9:15, 9:30.
Now, do you live in a private house or?
They're condominiums, and they have a gated front door to all of our little complex. But at the time, the lock was broken on the gate.
In the apartment complex where you live, is there a restaurant?
No.
Is there a movie theater?
No, nothing.
Is it a shopping mall? No. So there was no other reason for them to be there but to see either you or someone else at the complex?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know anyone else who lives in her apartment complex?
Just them, the Halseys.
Do you know anyone else who lives in the apartment complex?
Yeah.
So it's a fair statement that the 2 of you drove there in order to see her.
She called us up there.
That's not what I asked you. It's a fair statement that you drove to her house to see her, right?
After she called me, yes. And told me to come up there. I never invited them to my home.
Just a second. I'm going to say it one more time. It's a fair statement that you drove to her house to see her.
Yes.
Who was driving?
I am. I have my own truck.
How wonderful for you. Yeah. What happened when they got there?
When they got there, I had about 5 friends over at my house. So I told everyone to stay in the house, and my cousin Angelica follows me out there, and the gate was broken, and I saw Darcy and my ex-boyfriend stumbling towards the gate. Obviously, they were drunk.
Don't tell me what they
Okay, well, then they started stumbling towards the gate, and I was out there to meet them at the gate to tell them. I kept telling them, go home, this is not happening at my house, leave. I said it, I screamed it so many times. And then Darcy walks in the gate and pushes me really hard, and by the time I get up and see what was going on, she starts pounding on her in the face. And I turned to Darcy to try to pull her off of Angelica, and she turns towards me and starts pounding me in the face really bad. I have pictures of, she broke my nose, I have medical bills, I had to go to the hospital for 4 hours.
Please.
Yes.
You have a police report?
We did make one, but we couldn't, our original case was filed at the Vista Courthouse, and we couldn't get it to come here.
Has anyone from the police department spoken to you?
They called us like a couple months after all this happened. He called and said he'd get back to us later.
And he didn't. Must have lots of fights there. How old are you?
I'm 18.
How old are you?
18.
I want to explain several things to you before we go any further. It is possible that the police will file charges against you for assault. Did you sign a complaint?
Oh yeah, I pressed charges.
Who are you?
I'm her mother. That's my mother.
Could you step up here for a second?
Yes.
Miss Halsey?
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Halsey, I don't want to proceed with this case. I mean, clearly I don't want to place these two women in jeopardy by having them testify if they're going to have a criminal proceeding brought against them. Do you intend to pursue this matter criminally?
I wanted to.
If that's the case, then I'm not going to proceed with this case. If you're prepared to let this matter be resolved civilly, I'm prepared to do that. Do you understand?
I understand, yes.
Well, you have to tell me what you want to do. You want to confer with your daughter?
Actually, we really need the medical bills covered. We would really like this just to be settled and done and over with.
So is what you're telling me that you do not intend to pursue the assault charge based upon the events of the 16th of January?
If it means that we can't go through with this, then we won't.
All right. Now, you have to understand that the police are not necessarily bound by their statement that they don't wish to press charges. And the police could still arrest you. You understand that?
Okay.
And that any testimony that you give here today could be used at a trial against you. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Now, do you want to proceed with this today?
Yeah, we'll go on.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Are you not following what I'm saying? You're 18 years old. Did you graduate from high school?
Not yet. I'm still in school, actually.
Well, I would suggest that you stay in school for a little longer.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Amy Halsey says her former friends Darcy O'Neill and Jessica Clark came to her home and attacked her. Amy says they broke her nose and gave her a concussion.
Okay. You can continue.
Okay, she started hitting me, and then I fell to the ground. She was kicking me in the ribs, pounding my head into
That's Darcy.
Yes, Darcy pounding my head into the wall by holding my hair. And then I got my footing, and I noticed she was started to pound on Angelica's face again, and she was hitting her really hard, so I tried pulling her off again, and my ex-boyfriend was holding me back, and while Darcy was hitting me, he was holding her back from helping. And then I see Jessica walking in towards the gate, so I shoved her towards the truck so she'd get back in, because she was also stumbling. So I'm like, you need to stay out, this has nothing to do with you. So she didn't get back in the truck, she just started pounding on the side of my head again. She tripped me and I fell into a bush, and I got up and just started running. I just ran all the way around my complex to my back door, and I was screaming for someone to call 911, and by the time I got back into my house, Angelica had run inside and started calling the cops.
Did you see either of the two of them after you ran back into the house?
Well, I stopped when I was about to turn the corner, and I saw Jessica like just laughing and turning around, walking back to the truck.
All right, Darcy, why don't you tell me your version of the events of the 16th?
Okay, on January 16th, we were on our way over to our friend's house, and we stopped to get something to drink. Amy was behind the counter when we got in there, and she was talking to Shane about getting some of her personal items back from him. He told her to leave him alone, whatever. We started walking out the door. She went back to her behind the counter, yelled some words at her, pretty much.
Thank you.
And then we left there. A little while later, we got phone calls from her and her friends harassing us.
That's not true. I never
Shh, I don't want you to speak. Darcy, before you go any further, are you going to try to tell me that neither you, Jessica, or the ex-boyfriend knew that she worked at that Taco Bell?
We knew she worked there.
That's all. Just a second. That's all I wanted to know. So you knew she worked there?
Yes.
Keep going.
After that, we got phone calls throughout the day, them harassing us, telling them that they wanted us to come, you know.
Who's them?
Her and her friends from Wisconsin, all of them. They were yelling on our phones, death threats, them harassing us on the phone.
True. Shh. Did you hear what I said? Jessica, after the incident at Taco Bell, where did you go?
We went to our friend's house.
that lives.
Who was there?
Me, myself, Darcy, my boyfriend, and my friend that we went to the
When,
house.
your boyfriend's name is Shane, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
When did Shane's mother tell him that this young lady had called the house?
I have no idea. I had no.
When did Shane tell you?
He didn't tell me. It's not my business. I didn't know.
You didn't know what?
I didn't know that she had called his mom. I really didn't even.
Did you see his mother after this incident?
No.
You've never seen his mother after this incident?
I've seen her after this incident.
That's what I wanted to know.
I thought
You've seen his mother after the incident, is that right?
months after.
Don't play with me.
Well, yes,
Don't listen to me. Don't play with me. Because it's very easy. I can call her on the phone. Do you understand?
It's fine. I have.
When you saw his mother afterwards, did she tell you that Amy had called her on the 16th?
No, she did not.
Did she ever tell you that Amy had called her on the 16th?
No, she did not.
Did your boyfriend, Shane, ever tell you that Amy had called her on the 16th?
No, he did not.
And you spoke to his mother, is that
Yes.
right? Oh, okay. Give me his mother's name and phone number.
Linda is her name. I don't know her last name or her phone number. I don't call her. It's
What's
my
her phone-
boyfriend.
what's
I
her
don't
phone
have-
number?
It's in my cell phone. Oh, I don't have my purse. Her last name is...
You have her cell phone number?
Yes, but it's in my purse.
Go get it. Now, you would say that that would be a very important piece of information, wouldn't you? If she had I'm speaking. If she had called your boyfriend's mother that day and said, listen, please have them leave me alone, that would have been important, right?
Excuse me? Can I
asked you a question. Would that be important to me in demonstrating that all she wanted you to do was leave her alone?
If I had been calling her.
Listen to me. If she had called your boyfriend's mother and said, please have Shane and his friends leave me alone, I don't want any trouble, that would be an important thing, don't you think? Important piece of information for me. And I assume that you support Miss Darcy's statements that she called you and threatened you all day. So it would be important if, after you were where you knew she worked, if she picked up the phone and called your boyfriend's mother and said, please have them leave me alone. I mean, are you not following what I'm saying? You're 18 years old. Did you graduate from high school?
Not yet. I'm still in school, actually.
Well, I would suggest that you stay in school for a little longer.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Amy Halsey claims former friends Darcy O'Neill and Jessica Clark owe for an assault. Amy claims the young women came to her home and attacked her.
Let me tell you about liars. Shh. I hate liars. And I hate liars who swear to tell the truth and then lie. Because one of the things that I'm really good at is ferreting out the truth. So, Miss Jessica and Miss Darcy, let me tell you what Miss told me, because she was totally unaware of why I was calling her. She told me she absolutely spoke with Amy and her mother on the 16th of January, that Amy called her hysterical because she said that her son and the two of you had gone into Taco Bell and reduced her to tears. And that she was asking, she and her mother were asking Shane's mother to please prevail upon her son and you to leave her alone. Does that come as a surprise to you?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Then Shane's mother is a liar? Is that what you're telling me? Because Shane's mother said that she finally got to talk to you, Darcy, that evening. To you. To you. Missy. And to her son. And that to the best of her recollection, she managed to reach her son on your cell phone. Miss Jessica?
She talked to him.
I'm speaking. I suckered you into this long before I spoke to his mother. You are two big, lying bullies. And you went over to her house and you beat her up. And I don't believe a word that you say in your answer here, which is, she threatened us. She demanded that we come to her house. We drove to her house. She instigated the fight. No. You were annoyed, the two of you, because she and her mother had called Shane's mother and asked for her help. His mother said, what I wanted to do is to get Shane's side of the story. Well, unfortunately, she got Shane's side of the story, which she believes.
Excuse me?
I'm speaking. You are dishonest and dumb and bullies. And you're going to pay for all of her medical bills and all of her pain and suffering, because all you have to do is lie to me once, which you did. And I don't have to hear another word out of your lying mouths. You're bullies. I don't know what's going to become of you. All I can suggest is that you stay in school, because you don't know how to dress when you come to court. Suggests to me that you have no sense of decorum. You are a liar, which suggests to me that you have to go back to moral school. You're hanging around with her, who's just a big bully and throws her weight around, clearly, in attacking her.
You don't even...
What? Don't go there. Your nose was broken?
Yes. Concussion, bruised ribs.
What I don't understand is, quite frankly, how the police could not pursue this matter
That's what I don't know.
and at least give both of these girls a record for assault. They may not go to jail,
That's what I want.
but it's outrageous to me that with just one phone call that I was able to make today, that the police department chose to believe this cock and bull story that these two girls told them. It's an outrage to me. What do you do, Darcy?
What do I do?
For a living.
I'm an assistant manager at the Ranch Deli.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
This is case number 201 on the calendar in the matter of Harper John versus Neal. Advisor, sworn in judge. You may be seated, gentlemen. Have a seat, please.
Let me try to simplify this rather lengthy complaint that I've read. Mr. Harbourjohn, you are a used car salesman.
New and used.
And the defendant came onto the lot. You were his salesman on the lot where you worked.
No.
Where did he go to?
Well, I wasn't a salesman at first. I was coming from lunch, and my witness, this was a salesman.
You ultimately sold him a car. Unfortunately, it wasn't a car that was through your business. It was your own personal car that you had on the lot.
Right.
Not very good business. You sold him that car for $5,500. So far correct?
Yes.
And when you came onto the lot, you told either one of these two salesmen that you were prepared to spend $5,000.
Yes.
But you couldn't find a car on the lot that you liked for $5,000. But did you see a sign in his car?
No, ma'am.
He just told you he had a car.
Yes, ma'am.
So he said, well, if you don't find a car, I'm speaking. If you don't find anything you like, here, I have a car for sale. You want to look at it. Is that pretty much what he said?
Yes, ma'am.
And some more substance.
Yes, ma'am.
So you went and you took a test drive in that car?
Yes, ma'am.
That same day?
Yes, ma'am.
What day was that?
I'm not sure the day in question, Your Honor.
What day was that, sir?
February 27th.
And you agreed to buy his car for $5,500?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much money did you give him on February 27th?
$5,000.
In cash?
In cash.
But Mr. Harbourjohn at that time did not have the title to the car.
That's correct.
Why is that, Mr. Harbourjohn? Why didn't you have the title to the car, sir?
I had moved to a different location where I lived, and I later found out they had sent it to the old address, and it never came to my new address.
What month and year did you purchase the car?
This was in December.
So 2 months before you sold it to him, you purchased it yourself. Is that what you're telling me?
It was around three months around there, because it was the beginning of December.
Why were you selling it, Mr. Harbourjohn?
Well, we had 3 cars, and I thought we were going to keep this car for a while, but then my wife advised me it's best that we go ahead and sell this car.
Who did you buy the car from?
The dealership that I worked at.
How much did you pay for it?
It was just over $3,000 with everything involved.
So you were almost doubling your money in 3 months. Is that right?
What I was looking at...
Just listen to me carefully, sir. You were almost doubling your money in 3 months. If you bought it for $3,000 with everything in, and you were selling it to him for $5,500, that's a pretty good business deal for you, right? What word didn't you understand, Mr. Harbourjohn?
I was looking at the Blue Book value of the car.
Did you understand what I just said to you?
Well, yes. Yes.
So the answer is you were making a pretty decent profit. If you could double your money in 3 months,
Yes.
I would take that any day.
Okay.
Why is it that the place you work for, Mr. Harbison, was willing to give you such a great deal on this car? If the Blue Book value that you sold him the car for was $5,500, how come they sold it to you for under $3,000?
Because I worked there. And
Because
after
you're
working,
a trusted employee.
After I worked for...
I'm speaking.
Sorry.
Because you're a trusted employee, right?
Right.
So you repaid their kindness by a couple of months later, instead of selling this gentleman a car off the lot where you work, you sold him your own private car. And you didn't have the title to the car. So you told Mr. Neal that you would get him the title when, Mr. Neal?
In the next few business working days, and he said that he would sign it over to me when I gave him the remaining $500.
And you accepted that?
Yes.
And you took the car?
Yes.
When did you get the title?
It was about 2 weeks later, it seemed like. And we met at the DMV. He kept asking me, well, do you have the 500? Do you have the 500? And I said, I don't have the 500.
You mean before you got the title?
Yes. So I told him, I said, well, since I don't have the 500, and you keep calling me, asking me about the money, go ahead and give me my $5,000 back. Since you haven't signed the title over, you can have your car back. And he said, no, I don't have the $5,000.
What'd you do with the $5,000?
I had bills at home that I needed to take care of.
So you spent this $5,000 without giving him, at that time, the title to the car?
Yeah. Can I present this?
No. I want you to answer my questions.
Sure.
So when he said to you, listen, I don't have the $500 now, and I don't have the title, why don't I just give you the car back and give me my $5,000 back? You couldn't do that because you had used the $5,000 to pay bills. Is that right? Is that what you're telling me?
That's part of it.
That's all the part of it that I'm interested in. So, in effect, you said to him, I don't have the money to give it back, so then what happened, Mr. Neal?
He then went ahead and signed the title over to me. And then we agreed that when I got the money, I would still pay him the remaining $500.
And then what happened, sir?
I received a phone call from him 2 or 3 days later, and he told me that, you know, he had lost his job because I had went to his job and I caused him to lose his job.
Tell me about when you went to his job. You went to his job before you got the title?
Yes. The reason I went to the job before I got the title was because everyone was telling me that, you know, you shouldn't buy a car without a title or something if you put that much down on it. You should at least...
Did you get a bill of sale from him?
No, ma'am. He didn't have one. He had a piece of paper.
Can I see what he gave you when you bought it?
I don't have it with me, Your Honor.
Well, what did it say, sir?
He just wrote a handwritten copy, and then he put my ID on it. On my copy, he just had my picture of my ID.
We both signed it.
Just a second.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this says that you paid him $5,000 for this Lexus ES300, balance of $500 paid when the title is given to the seller. That's you. And then it has the tag number, blank, so that's not filled in, and you signed it and he signed it. Now, you're a car salesman?
Yes, ma'am.
Up here. Your name?
Jeremy Collins.
How long have you been a car salesman, Mr. Collins?
4 years.
When you sell a car, is one of the things that you identify the car with the year the car was made?
Correct.
And the model number?
Correct.
And the make of the car?
That's correct.
And the VIN number of the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you ever sell a car to anyone and accept their money without giving them those identifying features of the car?
No, ma'am.
No. Make, model, year, VIN number. That identifies the car that you purchased.
Correct.
You wouldn't accept this, would you?
No, ma'am.
Your boss wouldn't accept that. Would your boss?
No, ma'am.
If you ever sold a car with this kind of information, you think you'd lose your job?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Now you can sit down, Mr. Collins. You got me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
Where'd you get the money from?
Financial aid or something.
So you took your college money and bought presents for your boyfriend, who was a drug abuser and a thief. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Car salesman Vishnu Harbison claims Kip Neal owes for the unpaid balance on a Lexus and for getting him fired.
This is what we know about you, Mr. Harbison, because what you're suing him for is the $500 that you believe is still owed for the car and $4,500 $4,500 because you say he caused you to lose your job. You deserve to lose your job. Yeah, you do. You deserve to lose your job because you sold your own car on your boss's lot. You gave him a bogus bill of sale that didn't have proper identifying materials on it so that he could come back and pursue any rights that he had. And he went to complain about that, which was his absolute right. And if your boss fired you because you sold the car off the lot that was your car, that's your problem. Shouldn't have done it. Now I'll hear you.
I never knew this gentleman until that day when I was coming from lunch, and I was pulling to park in the parking lot when the salesman here, he stopped me and he said, this gentleman is looking for a car. And he had spent a lot of time on the lot, and he couldn't find one. Mr. Jeremy here had already shown him another...
Listen to me.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Okay.
Don't tell me the whole story. I gave you the germane parts of this story, Mr. Harbison. You sold him your personal car. You gave him a ridiculous document here, which is the only document that you have. Is that right?
No.
Show me the bill of sale that you say you gave him.
I just want to correct a lie that was said here. I never told him the amount of days. I said as soon as I get the title, I would give you a call.
Mr. Harbison, if I go in to buy a car,
yeah,
I expect to get something that indicates to me that this car is mine. He gave you $5,000, almost twice as much as you paid for the car, and he got a car that you could come and take back from him at any time. At any time. Because this doesn't even identify the car that you gave him. Now, he owes you, Mr. Harbison, nothing. Nothing. You made $2,000 in 2 months on this gentleman. He overpaid for this car. You took advantage of him, and I think it's the ultimate chutzpah for you to sue him for the other $500 and for $4,500 because you did not behave as an appropriate employee. So, Mr. Harbison, your case is dismissed. Goodbye. Good luck.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I went out of my way so he could have the car.
I came with $5,000 cash.
He had at least a written statement, what we agreed on.
I just wanted the car and proof that it was mine.
And he reneged on what we agreed on.
And he told me, well, you know, I need the money real bad so I can send it back to Taliban.
Taliban?
To me, I feel like that's the reason he was trying to scam me.
Did he say Taliban?
Because he was trying to get as much money as he could possible.
What is he talking about? I'm not from there.
I feel like everybody's always trying to take advantage of the good guy.
62 on the count in the matter of Starling versus Bartelli. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated.
Ms. Starling, Mr. Bartelli was your former live-in boyfriend. And according to your complaint, he owes you a whole bunch of money. He owes you some money for rent. He owes you some money for some court costs that you laid out for him. You want him to pay for new tires for your car. All in all, you're really annoyed with him. I gather that Mr. Bartelli moved out unceremoniously with no notice. Is that right, sir?
I feel I don't owe her the money.
No. You moved out unceremoniously, which means that you didn't have a discussion with her, you didn't sit down and talk to her, you just packed up your things, you decided you had enough, and you just left.
Your Honor, I just fed up with it. I don't feel I should.
Just say yes. Just say yes. That's what you said here.
Nah, I don't feel it's right.
Oh, this is going to be harder than I thought. I'm going to get to you in a second. All right, Miss Starling. I have to see if I'm playing now with a level playing field. Here we go, because I haven't asked you a question yet. When did you and Mr. Bartelli move into this apartment that you shared?
In October of 2003.
Had you lived together before?
Yes.
And when you moved into this apartment, did you both sign the lease?
Yes, we did.
Can I have a copy of that?
I don't think I didn't sign the lease.
Oh, take me back to the family court, please. Okay, so, Mr. Bartelli, it is your statement, sir, that you did not sign the lease. Is that, you did not sign the lease?
I don't remember signing the lease.
Ah, that's a different thing. Shut up. I believe you said I didn't sign no lease. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And that was a quote. because that was bad grammar. Now you say, I don't remember signing the lease. Is that right, sir?
Yeah.
So then, Officer Byrd, would you please show Mr. Bartelli this witnessed signature on the lease?
It's your signature.
Yeah, but I don't remember signing it.
Mr. Bartelli?
You just don't remember.
Mr. Bartelli, that's possible that you don't remember signing it,
Mm-hmm.
but that doesn't mean you didn't sign it.
See, me and Miss Arden were together, and she sent roses and flowers to my office trying to get us back together. Then whenever I didn't reply to that, she took and sent me court papers.
Miss Arden, I don't want to hear from you. I want him. He's dying to say this, so you know my sense is if I let him say this maybe once, maybe he'll get it out of his system so that when I ask him questions, he'll give me a relevant answer. All right? So, Mr. Bartelli, go to it.
Excuse me?
All I said to you was, sir, the fact that you don't remember signing it is belied by the fact that you did actually sign it in front of a witness. And you started to tell me about flowers and candy that she sent you. And I didn't see how those two things were connected in any way.
Well, me and Miss Arden used to drink, and we quit drinking. We moved to Orlando, and she had lost her job, and her son moved in with us. I felt I owed her money because I had to pay that money. And then she started drinking, that's why I left. And then when I left, she started sending flowers and stuff to my job, and then I didn't comply to that, and then she sent me court papers.
Now he got it all out of his system, right? That's your whole story,
Yeah.
and you're sticking to it,
I feel
right?
I don't owe the money.
That's your story, and you're sticking to it.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Now we have to go do this my way, which is collect information, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I have to make a ruling on her lawsuit. Do you understand, Mr. Bartelli?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of work do you do, sir?
I do carpentry work.
Okay. Which I assume you understand very well.
Mm-hmm.
Good. This is what I understand. I understand evidence. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you signed a lease on the apartment in October of 2003. And when did he move out?
April 3rd, 2004.
Now, you moved out, sir, because according to what you said in your mentally prepared statement, she started to drink again, you didn't want to live with her anymore.
Yeah.
So you want to tell me whether you discussed moving out, or you didn't discuss moving out, or you just packed your bags one day and left?
I just packed my bags and left.
If you just packed your bags one day and left, sir, you are still responsible, at least partially, on this lease. You signed a lease, obligating yourself to pay half the rent for a period of time. Do you understand that?
Mm-hmm.
Now, why do you think that you shouldn't be held responsible for at least paying the rent until such time as she can secure someone else that she wants to live with, if that's at all possible?
Well, I feel I didn't ask her for money whenever she had lost her job. Her son had moved in with us, and I didn't ask for money back for that. So why should I have to pay that?
How much
rent?
were you supposed to pay in rent, Mr. Bartelli?
The rent's $1,000 a month.
So your half was $500?
Mm-hmm.
And how did you expect her to cover the other $500 a month for the remainder of the lease?
Yeah, but see, I didn't ask her for money for the electric and food and stuff like that.
I paid that. Oh. Okay. All right. Now, you also claim that you helped him out when he was arrested a while ago by giving him $500 to pay for some bad checks that he had written. And Mr. Bartelli, you don't deny that you had gotten yourself into some criminal trouble.
No, I don't deny, but see, all of our money was in together.
No.
She might have paid that, but I paid this.
Listen!
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So is what you're telling me after you wrote this series of bad checks, you decided to open up a joint checking account with you? No way.
Just a second.
Right, no way.
And later today,
I reached back and pulled the chair up so I could sit down. He had pulled that chair, and I fell down, and I yelled, "Philip, why did you move that chair?" He laughed.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Diane Starling says ex-boyfriend Frank Bartelli owes for unpaid rent and a loan for tires. Frank says he and Diane shared their money.
Let me remind you what you said, sir, in your answer. You said, I don't deny that she gave me the money for these bad checks.
Yeah.
How did you pay her back for the jail bail money?
Well, she had borrowed the money from her brother. And like I said, we worked and all of her money was in one bank account. So she might have took the money out to pay that, but we took my money out to pay other bills. So all of her money was in the same account.
But you said that she borrowed that $500 from her brother.
Yeah, she paid her brother.
So if she borrowed that $500 from her brother, did you pay her brother back the $500?
Yeah, she sent checks to her brother.
She sent her checks to her brother for the $500.
Mm-hmm.
And the $500 was coming out of a bank account that you both pooled your money for household expenses. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
No, everything.
What's everything?
All of her money was in the same account. My whole check gets deposited and her did too.
Well, was this bad check money an expense that you anticipated?
No, this is all of her money was in the same account.
Try to listen to what I'm saying, Mr. Bartelli. When you wrote the bad checks, did you know you were going to have to pay them back?
Yes.
So why did you write them?
At the time, I didn't have no money, didn't have a choice.
So it was always your intention to pay back the money for the bad checks, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
In what year did you write the bad checks?
2002.
And when did they finally catch up with you?
2003.
On what checking account did you write the bad checks?
That was out of my checking account.
Why didn't you use your joint account that you had with her?
Because we didn't have that account at that time.
So is what you're telling me after you wrote this series of bad checks, you decided to open up a joint checking account with you? No way.
Just a savings.
No way.
I just got a savings account. She got a
So you didn't have a joint checking account?
No.
No.
Please.
All right. Now let's get to the tires. He used your truck, and after he left, you found the tires needed to be replaced.
were bald.
They were
We
bald.
wire
Well, that's
shredded.
your fault. Listen, Diane, darling, you let him use the truck, right?
Right. I didn't know they were so bad.
Listen to me. Well, you should have noticed. Mr. Bartelli, I know that you don't feel as if you owe Miss Starling any money, but you do. You can't just decide that you are fed up and pack up your bags and move out, because that's immature and it's irresponsible and it's sticking someone else with a big obligation that they didn't anticipate paying by themselves. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
So you owe her $2,500 for the rent. She also helped you out by borrowing money from her brother, and you didn't pay her back. Despite all your speeches, you didn't pay her back. And so I'm entering a judgment in the plaintiff's favor in the amount of $3,000. Do the right thing, Mr. Bartelli, that's all.
Thank you.
You may step out.
I think it went very well. I'm glad that Mr. Bartelli is being held accountable for what he did to me.
She just upset because I left her.
Well, I wanted to ask him to step outside, but he was too small.
She just left messages begging me to come back, and I wouldn't do it.
I miss him. He's a good guy, basically.
I hope we can be friends.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Bowie versus Wiley. Step forward.
23-year-old student Lynn Bowie is suing her boyfriend's sister, 23-year-old receptionist Jennifer Wiley, for selling a guitar and a PlayStation belonging to her boyfriend.
Miss Bowie, Miss Wiley is your boyfriend's sister. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
This is the boyfriend.
Yes.
This is really interesting, Bert. I want you to try to follow this. This young man, whose name is
Frederick Wiley.
Frederick, last year had a bit of a drug problem, smoking a lot of marijuana. And in order to get the money to buy this marijuana, he used to steal from his sister. He used to go into her purse, take money, or take her stuff and sell it, right?
Yes.
And when she would complain that he was taking money that she needed because she's a working gal, he'd laugh at her because he's an idiot.
Not to mention he was on high on marijuana.
Well, that alone makes him an idiot. Miss Bowie used to buy him presents. PlayStations, guitars, for his birthday and for Christmas, right?
That's correct.
And Miss Wiley said to her brother, "You steal again from me, I'm going to take your stuff and I'm going to sell it and I'm going to keep the money." Right?
Yes.
And he did. And she did. Right?
Yep.
Now comes the interesting part. The interesting part is Frederick over here wouldn't think of suing his sister because he knows that I would annihilate him. That he would get exactly what he deserved. So he puts up his girlfriend, Miss Bowie, who says, "She can't sell that stuff. I bought that stuff for you." Got it?
Oh, I got it.
So Miss Bowie comes up with this novel lawsuit, which says, even though I bought him these things as presents for his birthday and for Christmas, I really gave it to him and it's shared property because I bought him the PlayStation so that we were going to use it together. And I bought him, what else did you sell, the PlayStation?
The guitar.
And the guitar because I used to listen to the guitar. So that too is shared property. You made two mistakes, Miss Bowie. When you give somebody a gift, there are no attachments. If you bought him a PlayStation for his birthday, you may have used it in his house. But if the two of you broke up, the PlayStation was going to stay with him, as was the guitar. Because that's what happens when you give a gift. That was your first mistake. Your second mistake is taking him back. You understand? Do you work?
Yes, I do, right now.
What kind of work do you do?
Retail.
Were you working when you bought him all these gifts?
No, I was not.
Where'd you get the money from?
Financial aid or something. I was working here and there.
So you took your college money and bought him presents? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
That was your third mistake. Because I want you to figure out what that means. That means that the government was giving you money to go to college, right? The people were giving you money because we were investing in your future. And you were taking that money and buying presents for your boyfriend, who was a drug abuser and a thief. Does that say you're smart? Now, understanding that you did that and you broke up with him for a while, but then Frederick the Irresistible came back into your life. What is it that's irresistible about you, Frederick? I want you to step up here and tell me.
Nothing.
That's true. Do you work?
No.
Why are you looking up at the sky?
Because I have to think about it.
You have to think about whether or not you work?
No, I don't have to think about it, ma'am.
Do you work?
No, I do not.
How do you support yourself?
Going to school and make sure that I stay happy with myself.
Who do you live with?
My mother.
Are you the only son?
The only son, yes, I will be. Am.
What?
I am. Yes, I am.
Your mother favors you?
Say no.
Does his mother favor you?
Yes, very much so.
Do you go to school 8 hours a day?
12 units. I don't know about
12 units?
Yeah.
I could do 12 units standing on one hand.
Wow.
And so could you. Because I'm sure your mother wouldn't call you the favorite unless you're a real smart guy. So what do you do with the rest of your time, Frederick?
Stay at home, listen to music.
Play the guitar?
Play the guitar.
You used to when you had a guitar.
Yes.
Miss Bowie used her student aid to buy these things for you.
Yes, she did.
Well, why don't you get a job and pay her back?
I'm currently right now looking for a job, so.
Where are you looking?
All over Orange County.
How are you looking for a job, Frederick?
I wake up at 9:30, get dressed by 10, 11, I catch the bus and go at least 5 miles on each bus that I can go.
Yeah, please.
Let me help.
Go ahead.
Let me help with this.
Go ahead, he has a question.
Orange County?
Orange County.
What does everybody in Orange County have?
A car and a job.
A car, right?
Yes.
How do they clean that car? Most of them.
Taking it to the dollar wash and washing it.
What would happen if you washed it?
They'll laugh at me.
Oh.
No, I don't know. Probably give me $5 for it.
At least $5.
Yes.
If you multiplied that by 20 people's cars, how much would that be? More than you make now.
Yes, it would be.
You see where he's going? Do you understand why we've been this couple for a very long time? What?
He just currently got fired. He was working with his other sister's boyfriend, and he fired her. He fired him because
he was lazy.
No.
And couldn't wake up.
Oh, that I believe. I don't want to get involved with this anymore. Listen, right now he's his mother's mistake. If you choose to make him your mistake, that's your problem. She didn't know you a penny. Nothing. You made him a present. You made him a gift of these items. She sold them because that's exactly what she said she was going to do if he stole from her again.
Actually,
he doesn't deny that he stole from her, right?
Yes.
Right?
Right.
Good. Goodbye.
That's case number 180 on the calendar, the matter of Barolo versus Howard and Howard. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Barillo, you found Jaron over here, who is how old? 15, Jaron?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
On the internet.
Initially, I did not know he was 15.
That's not what I said, but you found him on the internet. And somehow went into a business arrangement with him, which you're going to describe to me. He was to provide you with certain merchandise, and you were going to decorate some of the merchandise, and then there was some T-shirts that he sold you that you were going to resell that was supposed to be authentic sports T-shirts. And you gave him how much money?
$3,610 in money orders.
And he doesn't deny that you sent him the $3,610. And is it safe to say, Miss Barillo, that the only merchandise that you received is that merchandise that you have there?
These including 2 pairs of shoes.
2 more pairs of shoes?
These are my shoes. I'll explain what they're doing here. But
okay, what's in the box?
These are counterfeit designer jerseys. The initial 15 pair that the defendant had sent me.
By the way, your defense is she got what she paid for, and I'm a minor anyway. Tell me what she was supposed to get for this $3,610.
I was supposed to receive 15 authentic designer jerseys as well as 14 pairs of shoes for my $3,610. I have a contract if you
Can I see it, please?
You take notice as well.
Did he sign that contract?
Yes, as well as about 4 other people that I'm not sure who they are.
Well, you understand, Ms. Barillo, that this isn't a very good contract.
Of course, Your Honor. That's why they took the necessary precautions of sending the money order certified mail.
What I'm telling you is this contract doesn't say much.
A lot of it was verbal agreement, Your Honor.
Well, let's start with this. Contract has to be specific. Now, we're not even getting to the point that young Jaron over here is 15 and can't sign a binding contract. You understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you understand that?
First time I made a contract.
So the first time you induced somebody to sign a contract with you, you knew that they could not enforce it against you. You knew that.
Yes, ma'am.
That makes you a scam artist. That makes you into a thief. That means you're taking somebody's money knowing that they can't come against you because you're 15. That's pretty slick. Where'd you learn that? From your father?
No.
I'm serious. Where did you learn it? You didn't learn it from your father. I'm sure your father, who's laughing, probably tried to teach you the right thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, so if you didn't learn it from your father, which one of your thug friends did you learn it from?
I don't have any thug friends, Your Honor.
Yes, you do. Thugs are thieves. That's what you did. You entered into a contract with this lady who sent you $3,600 knowing that if something went wrong, she could not come against you because you were a minor. You've just admitted that to me. That makes you a thief. Is that what your father raised?
No, ma'am.
You think that what your son did was wrong?
I think what he did with the contract part was wrong. The part about him sending her the counterfeit or knockoff or whatever the hip-hop culture calls it was correct. He sent those to her, and that's what she wanted. I believe just as she knew that these were...
Well, let me ask you a question. This question, Mr. Howard. I'm not a genius when it comes to hip-hop clothing, but I am a genius as to what people sell on street corners.
Yes.
And if I can go and if I can buy a T-shirt for $5 on a street corner that's not authentic, why would I pay $100 for it if it was a fake? If I could buy a good fake for $5, why would I pay him $100 for a fake?
Well, Your Honor, I believe that she's in that business of selling counterfeit stuff.
If she's in the business of selling counterfeit stuff, why would she buy stuff from your son at a premium?
That I don't know. He's 15.
Well, it doesn't make sense.
He's 15 years old.
Listen to me, Mr. Howard. He's a 15-year-old slick.
Okay.
Are you following the common sense of what I'm saying to you?
I follow you, Judge.
If I can go to the local guy on the street corner who's selling pocketbooks that look like other pocketbooks that may be in my closet, and if I can buy those for $2 on the corner, why would I send him thousands of dollars over the internet?
Because I believe that she thought she could make a profit. Your Honor,
So just a minute. She could make a bigger profit if she bought it cheaper than $3,600.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jessica Borello says 15-year-old Jaron Howard ripped her off. Jessica says Jaron sold her over $3,000 in counterfeit sports jerseys.
How do you feel?
I'm fine, thank you.
You're all right?
Yes.
You didn't have lunch today?
Breakfast. Breakfast.
Not enough. Did you get something?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right, we were on you, Jaron.
Yes, ma'am.
She was supposed to get a lot more merchandise than she got, Jaron. What happened to it?
Well, after she got this merchandise, I told her I had $900 left, and I told her that
$900 left out of the $3,600?
yes.
You mean that stuff, just a second, shh. That stuff that she has there, these counterfeit t-shirts and 2 pairs of shoes cost $2,700?
Yes.
How much profit did you make, Jaron?
You made $50 per jersey.
You made $50 per jersey.
Yeah, I get the jerseys for $100, and I sold it to her for $150.
A piece?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Meanwhile, she didn't get everything that you guaranteed that she was going to get. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So what you want her to do is you want her to accept partial merchandise, and you'd be prepared to give her back some money.
No, the rest of the money was going towards shoes, and the shoes that she wanted, they were $79 a piece, and there was no more shoes in the city, so I could get them, so I was going to send her money back.
So did you send her money back?
No, I told her I was going to send her money back. She told me she had an emergency, and to don't send the money back, and I never heard from her then.
Why would I have you not send my money back?
All right. Miss Barillo, were you under the impression that these were regulation, authentic T-shirts?
Correct. Yes, you're
What happened when you went to try to sell them?
I initially got the jerseys. They looked great. I've never seen an authentic jersey before. So they look great. I went to my local malls. I met a sales representative. I showed him the jerseys. He took 2 samples. He turned out to be a sales representative for this jersey company who was working alongside a private investigator. He was trying to get me to go to jail because he thought I was running this scamming business of selling fraudulent jerseys. He found out that I did not even know Jaron. I had nothing to do with knowing that these were counterfeit jerseys.
Can I see one?
Yes. You can, if you'd like to see the difference, the company has actually lent us borrow a real jersey, and this is a fraudulent jersey. You can see the difference.
Real.
And now that I just...
Could I see this, what she's talking about, the stitching on the side? Or, I don't know, you know, sewing was never one of my strong suits. That along with cooking and anything else domestic. Okay.
The color scheme's different.
Oh, look at that. I didn't realize that.
And the tag, Your Honor, it's very poorly.
Whatever. Somebody looks at it fast, like me, who doesn't know one group from the next. They look pretty close to me. Okay, so they're fakes, right?
Yes.
Jaron, they're fakes, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you know you can't sell fakes, right?
Yes.
You knew that before.
Well, yeah.
Huh?
Yes, ma'am.
You knew that if you got caught selling fakes, that they would close you down if they could find you on the internet, didn't you?
Yes.
And did you figure that they couldn't hurt you because you were 15?
No.
Did you think that they could send you to jail?
I never thought about it.
What would you think about? Did you think about the fact you were doing the wrong thing?
No, I never thought I was doing the wrong thing.
Well, you knew they were fakes. You knew you didn't allowed to sell fakes. You just told me that.
I know.
Well, then you knew you were doing the wrong thing. So, you know where you got these fake T-shirts from?
Yes, the internet.
From the internet. Well, the internet doesn't have a brain. It doesn't eat. It doesn't go out to the movies. It doesn't go to... You got it from somebody through the internet.
Yes, ma'am.
And who was that?
It was a website. They said they had a place in New York because the address is in New York.
Did you ever go there?
No, I've never been there.
Did you ever call there?
No, never called.
And when was the last time you purchased from them, Jaron?
The time I bought these jerseys, about a year ago.
Why'd you stop?
The jerseys were out of style. I couldn't sell them. I couldn't wear them.
And you miraculously stopped a year ago? Was she your only customer?
I was selling jerseys to my friends and stuff.
And your friends were buying them from you?
Yes, ma'am.
Because they like the fakes, right?
I guess, yes. Yes, ma'am.
See that box of junk over there?
Yeah.
It goes back to Jaron.
Okay.
Those are your shoes?
These are
now you want to tell me the story about the shoes?
This is initially how he contacted me. I do shoes like this, and I had a pair on eBay. and he wanted me to initially do some shoes for him. He said he did the same thing by painting shoes and selling them.
Is that what you did?
Yes, I did them for myself mostly.
He said he sold them to rap stars.
No.
So that's how you got started.
No, I didn't say I sold them to rap stars.
Yes, you
Okay.
did, Jerry.
Where are the 2 pairs? I'm not so sure you're completely innocent in this whole thing.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
If you took the keys and you put them in your pocketbook and you put your pocketbook under your pillow where you slept, nobody would have gotten their hands on the car keys.
You put your keys on your pillow when you sleep.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jessica Borello says 15-year-old Jaron Howard ripped her off. Jessica says Jaron sold her over $3,000 in counterfeit sports jerseys.
Okay. Mr. Howard, you are responsible, sir.
Yes, I am.
You are responsible because he's your son. You knew what he was doing. All you had to do was ask the questions that I'm asking, and you would have recognized, if you didn't at the time, that your son was doing the wrong thing.
Right.
So you and your son are getting back all that junk over there, and she's going to see to it that you get the 2 pair of shoes as well that you have. Clear?
Clear.
Good. What?
There were 4 pair of shoes.
Show me that you delivered 4 pair of shoes.
There were 4
I
pair
will
of
buy
shoes.
you 2 extra
Now,
pairs.
just a second. Did he give you 4 pairs or 2 pairs?
2 pairs, Your Honor.
Your Honor, I was with Jaron when we bought the 4 pair of shoes.
Okay.
And my wife was with me.
Okay. How much did you spend for each of the 4 pair of shoes?
You can deduct it.
They were 84 something with tax.
Okay. $3,511. Bird, he gets all the junk and she gets her money back. Thank you very much. That's all. I'll do the right thing, young man.
Next step out.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter, Mackey versus Dewey. Step forward.
Spa owner Lee Mackey is suing his former employee, 26-year-old esthetician Melanie Dewey, for the return of money he claims she stole. Melanie says she kept the money because Lee was withholding her pay.
Mr. Mackey, do you own a day spa? Is that what kind of establishment
Yes,
that
I'm
you
actually a
have?
partner.
And according to what I read, the defendant did some work at your day spa as an esthetician. She gave facials. What else?
We didn't really get to that point yet, but I was going to be the head esthetician and I was getting ready to open the salon with them.
So you weren't working for them?
I was working for them, but not doing facials yet.
What were you doing?
I was helping them open the day spa, doing like the hiring and the training and ordering the supplies, bringing the supplies.
Okay. According to what I read, Miss Dewey came to you with some sort of proposition, and that was that she had a friend from whom she could purchase a tanning bed at a very good price, $500. Is that right?
Not technically, ma'am. It's a spray tan machine, and the price was $550. So it's not technically.
Spray tanning machine.
Yes, ma'am.
You gave her the $550?
Gave her $500 in cash, and then I helped put $150 down for her insurance.
I don't want to know about the insurance. You gave her $500 in cash for the machine?
$650 total, ma'am.
Mr. Mackey, I want you to listen to me, sir. I said you gave her $500 in cash for the machine.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you said, well, I didn't want the machine, you were going to sell it to somebody else. And when you told that to the defendant, she said, well, I'm going to keep the $500.
Yes, ma'am.
And you also claimed that you loaned her $150 for her car insurance?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Miss Dewey says that, in fact, you did give her the $500, you did pay the $150, but you owed her money for some wages, and she's keeping everything. Right?
Correct.
Uh-huh. When were you supposed to open the spa, Mr. Mackey?
Originally it was in June, but we were delayed for construction. We finally opened December 15th.
Of 2003?
Yes, ma'am.
And when did Miss Dewey come to work for you?
I'd have to actually talk to our general manager, Eric. He's actually the one that dealt with hiring her.
When did Miss Dewey come to work for you?
She started helping the spa open, I would say, in early...
You're thinking really hard. The questions get harder here,
September.
sir. What?
September.
September what?
I don't know the exact date.
When in September?
It was the last week of July, actually.
Is that a possibility, sir?
I have her paycheck here that says 11/13/03 for 16 hours that she put in, and $295 of products that she purchased that she was reimbursed for.
11/16/03 is the first paycheck she had?
Yes,
You said she came to work for you in September.
that is correct.
So what happened in September and October?
This is when she was reimbursed for her hours.
Let me see. Okay. So you say you came to work in July.
End of July, last week.
And what did you do for them in July?
They had me look online for products that they would like, talk to them on the phone, ordering supplies, going with them to Sausalito to order supplies.
Well, I want you to take out a list of the hours that you worked.
He was responsible for all those hours. I don't have any of the hours.
You mean you were being paid on an hourly basis and you didn't keep track of how many hours you worked?
He actually was supposed to give me a base salary, which I never had, and a compensation package that he never gave me. He never came through with anything that he said that he would.
Then why did you continue there?
That's why I quit, and that's why I kept the money. It was ridiculous.
Well, you can't do that.
Well, I felt that I could.
Well, you can't.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lee Mackey says former employee Melanie Dewey owes for the return of money. Melanie claims it's Lee who owes her.
Okay. What's your first name?
Melanie.
Melanie! Listen to me, dear. If you go to work for somebody in July and you get your first paycheck in November, you're supposed to say,
Very too trusting.
something isn't right here. I worked in July, I worked in August, I worked in September, I worked in October. November 16th, I get a check for $583. Something isn't quite making sense here. Now, when did he give you the $500 for this tanning machine?
It was in September.
August 28th, ma'am. Also, just to talk a little bit about what Melanie is saying about working, we actually weren't even open. We were during construction.
I understand that.
So-
What Melanie is saying is she was helping you set up. And she had to have been there prior to when you say she was there in November, because she made this arrangement to get you a piece of equipment in August.
That's because we were friends.
Mr. Mackey, don't play with me. You may have promised her that she would have a role in the new day spa and that she would be the chief esthetician, but you needed some help in setting up the place, and she was on the phone, and she may have gone to look for some products for you. It's her responsibility to keep track of her own hours, to check against yours. She can't do that. She can't come here with a pretty smile and a great tan and then say to me, this is my evidence. I mean, that doesn't float. So August 28th, Miss Dewey, you got the $500. And when did you decide to keep it for yourself? What date?
Probably around the end of September, when I was still working for them and training all of their estheticians. And then I asked him for my compensation package, and he said that it was a great package, nowhere to be found, but they were going to turn around and sell the machine that I was giving them and make about $1,000 off of it. And at that point I realized I'm not going to get paid, they're making money, and I'm getting totally screwed.
Shh. That was in September?
Correct.
So in September you kept the money?
Correct.
Did you continue to go to work there?
No.
Well, then can you explain this check that was given to you on November 13th for $583 that you cashed?
I guess it was a later time. I don't remember the time frames.
Can I ask you this question, Miss Dewey?
Yes.
What did you do to prepare for your day in court? I mean, other than put on perfect makeup, what did you do?
I've been out of the country. I wasn't prepared.
You certainly are not prepared. What you're supposed to do when you come to court is the judge is going to ask you questions. Then you had to sit down and say, this is when I went to work for them. These are the hours that I put in. This is when I stopped working. This is when I decided to appropriate the $500 for myself because I wasn't getting paid. But if now you tell me that you appropriated the $500 in September, and then 2 months later they pay you $583, something doesn't quite fit. Do you understand?
Yeah.
All right, so I can't help you, madam. Now what about this $150 loan for insurance?
Well, actually, ma'am, $50 was supposed to go towards the machine. The other was a loan because the insurance agent was around the corner from my house, and I do have the canceled check.
Can I see it?
Where I wrote Melanie on the info line because it was not for me. And that was dated 11 November.
Okay. Now, Melanie, State Farm is where you insure your car. Is that correct?
That's where he insured my car, yes.
What do you mean he insured your car?
He was trying to pursue me. He was trying to date me. And that was one of his ways to get me to date him, was to get car insurance for me. So that was something that he did as a gift.
Just a second. Melanie, he was trying to date you. He was trying to pursue you. That adds a new layer to this rather interesting
Actually, both
case.
owners were actually.
What?
Yeah. The day that we went to go get products in Sausalito, Eric was rubbing my shoulders in front of the guy that we were buying
I don't
products from.
care, and neither does he. You don't care about rubbing shoulders, do you?
As long as they're not my shoulders.
Yeah. Well, I don't care about rubbing shoulders. All I care about is State Farm insurance for $150. Go someplace else if you want to talk about rubbing shoulders. Now, you allowed him to pay for your insurance, is that right?
Yes, I did.
Why?
Because he said it was a gift and he wanted to do that for me.
I don't believe you. Okay, listen, Melanie, where do you work now, darling?
I work at a day spa.
What do you do in the day spa?
I'm an esthetician.
How many days a week do you work?
4 days.
What do you do on the 5th day?
I take care of my son.
And on 4 days, working 4 days a week, you're able to support yourself and your child?
Yes, I am.
Okay, well, wonderful. So I hope you have the $650 to return to Mr. Mackey. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $650. That's all.
Now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Richards versus Highsmith. Step forward.
Caretaker Algerine Richards is suing her niece's friend, 27-year-old cashier, Jamelia Highsmith, for damages to a rental car. Jamelia says a friend took her keys without permission and wrecked it.
Miss Richards, Miss Highsmith is a family friend.
Yes.
And she is a close friend, according to your complaint of your niece.
Yes.
The defendant and your niece were planning to go on a trip. They needed a car. Ms. Highsmith asked if you would rent a car for her,
yes,
and she would be the authorized driver.
Yes.
Why did you need someone else to rent the car for you?
Because I couldn't rent one without a credit card.
And you don't have a credit card?
No, ma'am.
So you were asking Miss Richards to do you a favor?
Yes, ma'am.
And she did?
Yes, ma'am.
It was nice of her.
Yes, ma'am.
And you signed that you were the authorized driver on this trip?
Yes, ma'am.
And then, Miss Richards, you get a call that someone else was driving the car. The car was in a bad accident. Since Miss Highsmith was the only one who was authorized to drive the car company's insurance disallowed the claim. True. And they are holding you responsible for all of the damage to the car, and until it's paid, you can't rent the car yourself, and you're going to have this judgment against you on your record.
Yes.
And Miss Highsmith says it's not her fault. So you're going to explain to me, Miss Highsmith, why it's not your fault.
Oh, well, on January the 12th, me and Kawana and her friend, Ann, we went to see my boyfriend, and I put the keys on the counter, and I fell asleep, and I get a knock on the door saying that the car was in a wreck. So I asked Kawana how. She was like, she let Ann hold the car, and I was like, so we just went straight to the scene of the accident, and we called Miss Algerine. And from there on, I thought everything was all right. Miss Algerine came to me, and she was like, she ain't going down for this, so I need to press charges on her niece. She stated that I didn't give her, which I didn't give her permission for the keys, but at the time I went to do that, they gave me a hassle because I was the co-driver and I wasn't over the rental car. I was just the driver of the car.
Why weren't you more careful with the keys?
If I lay the keys down, if I don't tell nobody to pick them up, should nobody pick them up. That's what anybody
Let me ask you this question, Miss Highsmith. As between you and Miss Richards, who do you think is more responsible for what happened to the car? Between the two of you?
Neither.
No. You have to listen to what I'm saying. I want you to listen to my words. As between you and Miss Richards, who's more responsible for what happened to the car?
I still say neither.
Well, let me put it to you this way. She was home in what state when the accident
Florida.
happened? And in what state were you and the car?
I was in Florida at the time. I had not been to Chicago.
In what city in Florida? Were you both in the same city?
No, we was not.
What city were you in?
I was in Lake Wales.
And where were you?
Arbondale.
And where was the car?
In Arbondale.
And how far from where she lives was Arbondale?
About 30 minutes.
So she would have had to have a very, very long arm to have responsibility for that car.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So, Miss Highsmith, as between you and Miss Richards, she did a good deed. You had control over the car. If you had taken the car keys and put them in your pocketbook and put your pocketbook in a safe place, nobody would have gotten the car keys. Isn't that right? No, listen to what I said. If you had taken the car keys and put the car keys in your pocketbook and put your pocketbook in a safe place, nobody would have gotten control over the car keys, right?
They were in a safe place.
No, they weren't in a safe place. You told me you put them on the counter.
If it's my belongings, should nobody, I should have to tell nobody not to touch my stuff.
The only thing I fault you for is having bad judgment, because this lady is, so thick.
212 on the calendar in the matter of Rossell Chronister versus Wynn. Husband sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Chronister, this is your son?
Yes.
He's 17 years old?
Yes.
Have you ever had any trouble with him driving a car?
That was the first incident. He had only had his license for a month when this incident occurred.
Okay. What's your first name?
Corey.
So let's talk about this, Corey. According to your complaint, Mr. Wynn is a real nut. And he chased you in his car for no reason and caused you to have an accident. And after you had the accident and he caught up with you, he slammed his car into yours, causing damage to your car. So you had damage from the accident and you had damage from his car hitting yours.
Yeah.
And in addition, you say that he slammed the trunk of your car on your arm.
Yes, ma'am.
When you went to get a baseball bat out of the trunk of your car, and that caused you injury. All told, you want Mr. Wynn to compensate you in the amount of $2,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Wynn says that he was being a good Samaritan,
Yes, ma'am.
that he saw you involved in a hit-and-run accident. You took off after you hit something, and he was following you until he could get the police to apprehend you. So I'm going to start with you, Mr. Wynn. On what day were you being this good Samaritan?
June 30th, I believe it was.
April 30th.
April 30th. I'm sorry, excuse me.
And where were you going to, and where were you coming from?
I was coming home from work.
And what time of the day was it that you were coming home from work?
Approximately 3:45, 10 to 4.
What kind of car were you driving?
I drive a 95 Dodge van. It's my work van, so I carry all my equipment and tools in it. It's a full-size van.
And what car were you driving, Corey?
95 Ford Taurus.
Whose car is that?
That was my car. It was in her name, but I was driving.
Who was with you?
3 of my friends were with me.
Did you ever have an agreement with your mother not to drive other people around in your car?
No, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Wynn. So you're driving down the road, and what do you see that draws your attention?
I was heading south on Blanding. He was coming north on Blanding. There was a white car. It was a good ways ahead of me, probably 100, 150 yards ahead of me.
Ahead of you?
Ahead of me.
So you're going in the opposite direction?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
He made the turn to go down Alligator, which is my road that I go down also. I see him hit the back end of the white car. It wasn't real hard, but he did hit it and just took off. I mean, he just nailed it and went. The lady who was driving the other car, which I didn't stop, had pulled over, was getting out of the car as I rounded the corner, and I just stepped on it trying to catch up with the car to see if I could at least get the tag number. That's all my intention was, is to get the tag number. Well, being he's in a smaller car and I'm in a big van with a lot of tools and equipment, I couldn't keep up with that van, with the car.
My car is not a smaller car. It's not like a little bitty car. It's a big car. I could fit like probably 6 or 7 people in the car.
I'm not asking you that, Corey, dear.
Sorry.
Just trying to say you weren't there.
I know.
You weren't there. Does Mr. Wynn look like a nut to you?
No.
He does not. He doesn't look like a nut.
But I believe his behaviors throughout the thing were...
Just a second. He doesn't look like a nut.
No.
So if your son told you that he didn't hit this car, his son is lying to you.
My son never said he did not. He admitted to hitting the car, even to the police.
Good. So you hit this car.
It's not a bump car.
After you hit the car, what did you do?
On the Alligator, the road that he was turning on, we stopped. The other car was going the other way, like we were in the median and we were coming across. We stopped and looked over, and then her car just kept going. So we just kept going. And then with this car, the van, we seen a van behind us. I started taking a turn to go to my house. They were like, "This van's following you." I said, "The van's following me?" They said, "Yeah, speed up." So
Did you, just a second, did you get out of your car to look and see if there was any damage on your car?
No, ma'am.
Why not? When you hit somebody, you're moving. When you hit somebody and you're moving, that's what you do.
Yes, ma'am. It was a very slight bump, so I knew there was nothing wrong with the car.
Got it?
Yes.
Now, I can understand a woman in a car with 4 men in another car who's bumped, maybe not feeling comfortable about pulling to a complete stop, if that's what she says is happening. But that doesn't mean his first reaction isn't to get a plate number and then report it to the police. Right?
I had no disagreement with that. Right.
Fine. So he started following you. And then what happened?
So they were like, "He's following me." So I took down a couple roads. I was still driving, just regular driving. And he kept following me.
Now, you saw him immediately after you hit the white car.
No, man, I took a turn, and then they.
Why did you take a turn?
I never saw him. My friend said.
Why did you take a turn?
Because I was turning to go to my house. I just kept going. I didn't think nothing of it.
What street did you turn down?
It's just like a little dirt road that comes onto a alligator.
Do you know what street he's talking about?
No, ma'am, I had it written down, but I apologize, I didn't bring it. But he turned down that one, he turned down several of them. As far as regular driving, he was fishtailing.
You hit the white car, and how much later did you take a turn?
Probably 5 minutes. I mean, I had to go down Alligator a little way.
3 blocks.
3 blocks. Now, he's following you. You're 4 guys in a car. He's 1 guy in a van.
Well, we didn't know who, like, I couldn't see inside his van. We didn't know anything about the van. We just knew that he kept saying he was following you, he's following you. So I said, okay, well, let's find out if he's following me. So I started turning down roads that I wasn't on my way to go home. And I just turned down and turned him, and he's still there. I started looking in my rearview mirror, he's still there.
Why didn't you go down the road and go home and call the police?
Because my house was an hour away from there. I live a long way away from town.
Well, what about your friends? How close do they live?
They, I would have had...
Corey.
Yes.
Corey.
Yes, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
As a very, very dear friend of mine says, everybody's entitled to their opinion. You have your opinion, I have my opinion. Ultimately, it's only my opinion that counts.
And later today...
So you went from her to her, back to her, is that right? Is that what you're telling me? You must have some secret something, George, and if you do, it's got to be a good secret, because I don't see it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 17-year-old Corey Rossell says fellow motorist Russell Wynn ran him off the road during a chase. Russell says Corey was fleeing the scene of a traffic accident.
Now, did you ever think that the woman that you hit in the white car was thinking the same thing about you and your 4 friends in your car?
No, ma'am, because we had stopped and we saw her drive off, so we just thought it was just...
She didn't drive off.
No, ma'am, he didn't even slow down.
She didn't drive off. That's what you told your mother.
If he'd have stopped, ma'am, I'd have went on my way, thought nothing of it.
If she would stop, how would he have known that she stopped if he was following us from the minute that he saw it?
Because he says he saw you hit her and take off. That's how.
That didn't happen. We stopped. I swear we stopped.
That's what you do when you hit another car, even if it's a little bump. You get out, you look at your car, you look at their car, you say, is everything all right? Are you all right? And then you leave. Unless you're scared that you've had your driver's license for a month, you got 4 friends in the car, and maybe if you just take off, this whole nasty thing's just going to go away. It's just common sense, Corey. That's what makes the world go round, common sense. That's why he was chasing. He's not a nut. He sees 4 kids in a car, hit another car, and take off. And that's why he was following you.
Yeah. There was other incidents that made me feel different after the fact that we got onto the main road, and he was still right behind me. Well, it's just rained, so it was pretty slick outside, and I started going through all these roads. I finally got to the end of the road, so I turned onto a main road, and he was still right behind the road. He's still there. He got right up beside my car. This is why I didn't think he was actually following me, because he ran my car off of the road. And he ran my car off the road to where he almost ran right into my driver's side door. And then he got out, and all I could hear was him cussing and cussing and cussing. So I just took off. I was like, I'm not going to sit here for this. And I took off, and then I was like, I'm turning here, and it just rained. And I had a lot of dirt on my tires, so it slipped, and I just ran right into the tree. And then after I hit the tree, I backed up, and the guy was still back there. And I started going through the parking lot, and they're like, he's still there. And
I got 3 other teenagers in the car with you.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I know.
He's supposed to stop.
Well, I agree at one instant, but I'll be honest, I have told my children that because previously in Florida around our area, people have been shot, you know.
You mean cars bumped?
Cars bumped, accidents,
That's why the white car may have moved on with 4 men in the car behind them.
I agree.
How do you not do the right thing and then come to court to sue about it?
Because I think he took justice into his own hands. I think he could have taken the license plate down.
Just a second. Do you think that your son was driving recklessly during that time?
I'm not saying he was in the right either, but I'm just...
Listen to me, Ms. Chronister. Then what you have to say is, if my son did something wrong, and as a result of my son doing something wrong, there was damage to my car, you don't come to court and sue over it.
I guess my main problem and concern comes in from when they did get on the main road. And he did come up on the side of them to the point where...
So get him over so that he would stop his car.
And when he did stop his car, he comes out cussing and hollering.
How many minutes did it take for him to chase you down?
Probably 20, 25.
Mm-hmm. He's on his way home from work.
And I understand that, but it's not even like his car was involved in it. He was supposedly being a good Samaritan, I understand, but I just think he went overboard.
You're entitled to your opinion. Mm-hmm. As a very, very dear friend of mine says, everybody's entitled to their opinion. You have your opinion, I have my opinion. Ultimately, it's only my opinion that counts. Your son did the wrong thing. Okay. He hit a car, he took off from the accident. This gentleman who was just looking to go home after a day's work said, it's not right, they just hit this lady in a car and took off. 4 kids in a Taurus, and I'm going to catch up with him, and I'm going to get his license plate, and I'm going to see to it that he's reported, and your son takes off and takes him on a 25-minute chase. I would have taken away his driving privileges. Did you get him a new car?
No.
Good. Your case is dismissed.
But ma'am, I have a question though. After my son wrecked, this is where the punitive comes in, he hits him from behind, gets out of his car with a bat, and follows my son with a bat in his hand, screaming and yelling at him. How is that?
And what did your son do?
My son stood there and yelled. They were yelling. His car was smoking. Then my son went around and went to get the bat, and that's when
to get his bat.
Right.
Case is dismissed. Goodbye.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. Let's step out.
She kept going. Like I said, my intention was only to get his tag number. No evidence was found that I hit her. I was bound and determined to get the tag number. There was no evidence she was ever there. That's the only thing I was trying to do, is get a tag number. It's just my word against his, and I guess his one. I just do what I do.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lopez Chantarasaka versus Moot. Step forward, please.
18-year-old Beverly Lopez and her boyfriend, 20-year-old waiter George Chantarasaka, are suing George's former lover, 19-year-old tutor Saram Moot, for breaking into their home and stealing property.
Pronounce your last name for me.
Chantarasaka.
Chantarasaka. What's your first name?
George.
George. Do you mind?
No.
According to your complaint, this young lady is George's former girlfriend.
Ex-girlfriend.
Former, that's former.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry.
And it is your claim that she broke into the apartment that you now share with George.
Yes.
Broke the door to your bedroom, vandalized the room, and took some of your property. Your defense is that it's your apartment, and you have the right to go into your apartment because you're on a lease.
Yes.
And you did take some of her property, but that was a mistake.
Yes, I did.
But then you gave it back to her.
Yes, I did.
When did you break up with George?
We broke up a week before I left, which was about May 24th.
And when did you come back to the apartment on the incident that Miss Lopez is complaining about?
A week after June 11th.
And when did you move into the apartment, Miss Lopez?
I think the last week of May.
And you moved in with George?
Yes.
So now he's your boyfriend?
He's been my boyfriend. We broke up for about a month, and that's when he got with her.
So you went from her to her, back to her, is that right? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
You must have some secret something, George, and if you do, it's got to be a good secret, because I don't see it. Now, you came back June 18th. Tell me why you came into the apartment. What were you looking for?
I came back to the apartment to drop off his wallet because he left it in my cousin's car. And I was there to pick up some of my stuff and take it back to California with me. Little did I know, my door was locked. So out of anger, I broke my door.
The door that you had that you say was locked, is that a door to a bedroom that you had shared with George?
Yes.
So it was George's bedroom as well?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
So I broke off the doorknob, went in, took my stuff, and I also took her stuff out of anger.
And where did you put them when you took them?
I actually took it with me to California, but then I realized my stupidity, and I brought it back the next day.
You're lying.
Just a second. Did you get it back?
No, I didn't get any of my stuff back.
Show me that you brought it back and gave it to her.
I have a witness who can't come in because she's a minor.
Well, then if you have a witness that I can't question, then you have no witness.
You're right, I don't.
But I did bring it back. Why would she wait for a month to file a report saying that I stole her stuff?
I called you and I told you that I want to make things
Listen,
back.
Ms. Lopez, don't speak to her. Speak to me.
Okay.
Did you get your property back?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Do you have a bill for the replacement of the doorknob?
No, I don't. But this is the doorknob. This is how it looks when she broke it off.
I don't need the doorknob, madam. She says she broke the doorknob. I need what it's going to cost to fix it.
Well, we don't have the bill.
You have a list of items that she took out of your room?
I have a police report.
Well, you originally told the police, madam, that all the stuff that was taken was original value and current value were the same, $900. Why are you suing her now for $4,500?
Because my things are actually worth more than $900 at
You
the
mean
time.
they increased in value since you filed the police report?
No, I didn't.
Listen to me. If you file a police report and they ask you what the value is and you gave them their original value and the current value, I assume that when you filed that police report you were trying to be as accurate as possible. Is that right?
Yes, but at the time I wasn't really thinking because I was really...
Now you're thinking? Is what you're telling me now you're thinking? Heaven help me. You have no right to take up property and you have no proof that you returned it. I have no idea how much it's going to cost to fix the doorknob because you don't bring me a bill.
And she broke my video camera too.
You have a bill to have it fixed?
No, I don't.
Well, what am I supposed to do? I'm out of mind reader.
Your Honor, I did not break his video camera.
I'm not considering the video camera because people have to know that when they come to court, they have to be prepared. They have to be prepared with documents. They have to be prepared with receipts. They
I
have
had
to
my
be prepared.
receipts, but
I'm
she...
speaking.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They have to be prepared with an estimate of what it's going to cost to fix property if there's an allegation of damage. If you don't have that, the judge isn't going to get it for you. George, you got it?
Yes, yes.
Good. As far as you're concerned, you made this report soon after the incident occurred. You told the police what happened. You told the police what your property was worth. You told them at that time that it was worth $900, which is probably a stretch. Certainly that stretch isn't going to be stretched into $4,500. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $900. That's all.
Yeah, that's case number 1.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Elliott versus Worsham, step forward, please.
Plaintiff Sheila Elliott is suing casino owner Ken Worsham for pain and suffering due to an accident in his casino. Sheila says she fell to the ground when a worker removed a chair from underneath her during a game of Texas Hold'em.
Mr. Worsham, do you operate a casino? Is that what you do?
Yes.
Where is the casino?
Sacramento.
According to what I've read, Miss Elliott, you were playing some sort of a game, Texas Poker?
Texas Hold'em.
Texas Hold'em. I'm trying to figure out how this game was played, but I gather that there were 10 players to start with. Is that right, sir?
Normally there's 9.
And when one person leaves, they take away that spot, and it goes to fewer people and fewer people, almost like musical chairs. Miss Elliott was playing this Texas Hold'em, and according to you, you went to sit down, and one of the employees of the casino had removed the chair that you were going to sit on. Is that right?
At the time, the chair was there.
Well, when you went to sit down, the chair wasn't there.
Yeah, when I went to sit down, it was gone.
And you fell.
Yes.
And you want Mr. Worsham
Worsham.
to pay you $5,000.
Yes.
What time did you start to play Texas Hold'em?
I started there early in the afternoon.
What date?
On the 2nd.
2nd of what?
Of January.
And what time did this incident happen when you fell?
It happened like, to my recollection, I would say 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Anybody have a different time and date?
Yes, it happened about 6:30 a.m. in the morning.
So she fell about 6:30 a.m. in the morning.
That's
How do you
correct.
know that, sir?
We had a tape of it, of the incident.
And that's what the tape indicates?
Yes.
Okay. Is that possible?
No, it happened before then. Now, what his tape is showing, it could be. I didn't see the tape. I asked to see the tape.
That's not what I asked you. I said, could it have been at 6:30?
No, I believe it was before 6:30.
Who was the employee who was moving around the chairs?
Mr. Philip Leone.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sheila Elliott says she was injured during a game of Texas Hold'em at Ken Worsham's casino. Sheila says a casino worker removed her chair while she was trying to sit down.
Ms. Leon, you're an employee of Mr. Worsham's?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me what time this incident happened?
I come and see play on the table, and
What time?
6:30.
You moved the chair, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me why you moved the chair?
Because get off the table, so I get off the table. So I ask anybody want to move the chair. We have 10 seats.
I'm not, Mr. Worsham, you're going to have to act as partial translator for me. I'm not following this.
Okay, well, he asked if anybody was going to move seats, and then when no one said they were going to move, then you take a chair out.
Okay, is that what was basically happening? One chair was being taken away?
No, ma'am.
Well, tell me what your version of these events are.
My version is it was late in the morning.
Okay, go ahead.
There were approximately about 6 to 7 players at the table, not 10.
Okay.
And not that many chairs.
Okay.
So what happened was Philip was reading a book for about maybe 30 to 40 minutes. So when I noticed that it was a few players and I had been sitting in this one particular seat for so long, I looked over at him reading the book. I said, Philip, can I move into that seat? He said, yeah, go ahead. Just like that. So with me, a chair, and the third chair, the one I want to move into. So I didn't go behind the chairs. I came in front of the chairs. And I put my hand on the table, like you normally do, as I do all the time. I reached back, because the chair, I felt the chair on the calf of my leg. I reached back to pull the chair up so I could sit down. No chair. He had pulled that chair immediately. And I yelled. I said, Philip, why did you move that chair? And he said, oh, and they all started laughing. He laughed. That's what made me so mad. And when I fell down, my shove fell on my left shoulder. And when I fell down, I felt something like in the back of my neck, back of my head, like, and they was going to pull me up with this arm. And I said, no.
Miss Elliott, after you fell down, did you find a chair?
No, the chair wasn't there.
Did you find a chair to sit and continue playing that morning?
After they got me up?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, I did.
And how many hours did you continue to play after you fell on your behind?
Okay,
just a second.
I
just
stayed,
answer my question. How many hours did you continue to play?
I stayed for several hours. I stayed there.
How many?
Oh, I stayed all, no.
2
no,
hours?
No, I stayed all that day.
All day?
Yes.
And I read your papers, and you said that after you fell, however, you felt a little woozy, and you went to the bathroom, and you took a Vicodin.
Yes, right.
Where'd you get the Vicodin from?
I carry Vicodins with me all the time.
For what?
Because I had back surgery back in '92.
So
and
you
when I have back
92
problems,
was 12 years ago.
I have back problems, and ever since I had back surgery, I've been on pain medication.
So you take pain medication for your back?
Not frequently now, but I just carry it with me in
Carry
case.
it with you just in case you
Yes,
fall.
if I get, yes.
And
not
you sat
in
and
case
played,
I fall.
Miss
No.
Elliott, and you sat and played all day that day. Is
Waiting
that right?
for him to come in.
I don't care what, listen.
Yes,
Miss Elliott,
okay.
listen to me very carefully, my dear.
All right.
This is not windfall day. What Ms. Worsham said to you when you approached him, because you waited for him all day, instead of going to a hospital if you were injured because you couldn't move your shoulder, because your shoulder was all out and your back is out and you're taking Vicodin, you go to a hospital. You go to a doctor. You don't continue to play Texas Hold'em. Elliott, Mr. Leung, didn't purposely pull a chair out from under you. He wasn't playing a Halloween prank. You weren't injured. You only get paid if you're injured, even if he was negligent. And people who are injured don't stick around for a whole day and play Texas Hold'em, Miss Elliott. Do we understand each other?
I understand you.
Very good. Now, you offered her $500?
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you offer her $500?
Well, she kept asking me what I was going to do for her, and I told her nothing, and she came back in and asked me again, and I finally said, okay, I'll give you $500. And she said, is that all I get? And I said, yes, that's all I'll give you. And she left again, went back and played cards.
What time was this? Do you recall?
This was another day. This was about 3 days later. In fact, I believe it was on a Monday or Tuesday.
You mean she came back, her injuries resolved, and she came back 3 days later?
Yes.
Is that right?
I came back to see him, not to play cards.
But you did play cards.
I waited while I was waiting for him. Yes.
Miss Elliott, courts have important business to take care of. It is not the role of courts to allow people to abuse them with nonsense lawsuits. Your lawsuit is nonsense. Okay. You were not injured. If you were injured,
yes, I was.
No. If you were injured, a person of your age knows that if you fall on the floor and if you're injured, you don't sit around all day playing cards. You take care of your injuries. That's what you do. You chose not to do that. And you chose to come back a couple of days later to see him again, to ask him how much money he was going to give you. And while you were waiting, you weren't injured so much that you couldn't sit down and play a few games of Texas Hold'em or wherever else you were going to play. So, Miss Elliott, this is not a windfall day against Mr. Worsham. He offered you $500. You should have taken it. You didn't.
Hello, how are you? How can I feeling you are? Water, please. Your drink. How are you? नमस्कार दोस्तों, क्या हाल है? कैसे हो? सब ठीक हो? ये दांत किधर गया है मेरा? ये दांत टूट गया साला। कोई बात नहीं, न्यू लगाए। This is my hair. White, smooth. It's beautiful. Not beautiful. I have no money. I have no money. This is my hair silky, not silky, not silky. और सुनाओ सब कैसे हैं? ठीक है? This is a tape. Very smooth. Oh, very much. How this?